control, shoveling dirt in every hole, predators to condemn your soul, watching you and watching me. We're all connected but separated, misunderstood and so frustrated. A million armies of one have invaded, watching you and watching me. We live behind glass curtains and act like nothing's wrong. Soon you will belong. I know you're out there somewhere. We've watched you for so long. Wait for you to fall. We'll expose you all. I know you're out there somewhere watching me. The little brother wants to make headlines, be immortalized. Everyone's got an electric eye with the digital spies. They've watched you for so long. I know you're out there somewhere watching me. We the people have taken over. We the people are little brother, standing by to dethrone each other, watching you and watching me. Paranoid, the lens is our weapon, desensitized in our lust for attention, democratized by our voyeur obsessions, watching you and watching me. Slaves to perfection, don't let them project you as you are. Feel your every flaw. I know you're out there somewhere. We've watched you for so long. Wait for you to fall. We'll expose you all. I know you're out there somewhere watching me. Little brother wants to make headlines, be immortalized. Everyone's got an electric eye with the digital spies. They've watched you for so long. I know you're out there somewhere watching me. I know you're out there somewhere. This is the new totalitarian state. 1,000 eyes are waiting for you to break. Stay in line, don't make a mistake. We're watching. We watched you for so long. We wait for you to fall. We will expose you all. I know you're out there somewhere watching me.
your experience begin right now. From high atop the mountains of British Columbia to you listening around the world, this is Spaced Out Radio. You can follow us on our website, spacedoutradio.com, on Twitter, @SpacedOutRadio. Give our Facebook page a like, Spaced Out Radio Show. You can follow us on Instagram, Dave Scott, SOR, or on our YouTube channel, Spaced Out Radio Show.
Superman, that we're the only ones who can be strong, but we break on command, cause women rule the world.
Buckle up, space travelers. It's time to go for a ride as we are live on Spaced Out Radio.
Ignition sequence start. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Said the deeper I go, the deeper I fall.
Good evening and welcome to Spaced Out Radio. Tonight I am your host, Dave Scott, and thanks for listening in at spacedoutradio.com, on Spreaker, and on Revolution Radio as we come in from the frozen Canadian tundra, battling the wild animals to set up shop in Uncle Jimbo's cabin in the Great White North, live on this Monday night, early Tuesday morning. Here at Spaced Out Radio, we are live 3 hours a night, 7 days a week, because we want to be your official one-stop shop when it comes to the supernatural, the paranormal, the conspiratorial, the paranormal even again, and so much more. If you like our music, you can head to our website, spacedoutradio.com, and click on the guitar god himself, Ron Bumblefoot THAL, formerly of Guns N' Roses. Bumblefoot takes care of all of Spaced Out Radio's musical needs. You can follow us on Twitter, @SpacedOutRadio. Give our Facebook page a like, Spaced Out Radio Show. On Instagram, I can be followed at Dave Scott, SOR. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, Spaced Out Radio Show, and our website is spacedoutradio.com. You can also listen to us on TuneIn and download our shows on iTunes. At this time, we say hello to everyone listening in on the Revolution Radio chat room on the High Plains Talk Radio Network, along with our fans on Facebook, Euphoria Chronicles, Chronicles of the Unknown, Forest Moon Paranormal, our flagship chat room, the SOR Space Travelers, and those taking part in the Space Out Radio chat room on Spreaker. If you haven't signed up for the SOR Space Travelers Club yet, it is time. It's only $5 a month, and with that, your name gets entered in a monthly prize draws. You get access to private group interviews, access to a special section in our website, and so much more. Unlike the other guys, we're going to give you a hell of a lot more than just access to our archives. While at spacedoutradio.com, you can click on our latest blogs. You can also read up on the SOR Space Wire for your latest and weird news. Tonight's show is brought to you by Rivulet Reiki and Readings, providing healings in person or to distance. PurplePlates.com, helping heal your body, mind, and soul. The New Agora newspaper is the official paper of this show, and the iTunes app, Spirit Storybox, is the official ghost hunting app of SOR. Remember, if you're a listener on Revolution Radio, thank you for tuning in, and it's the largest nonprofit online radio station going. Do us a favor, take the time to visit freedomslips.com and donate today. Now, I know a lot of you are hearing some static happen on my microphone. Some reason, it's just not working properly. So we're going to battle through as I wait for my new microphone to arrive. So yes, I do know the static is there. But, hey, let's move on. The show must go on. Hey, can you believe it's already the third Monday of September? Which means it's Chronicles of the Unknown time tonight, where we get people together to chat strictly about the paranormal, a little bit of a round table thing we got going on. The Chronicles team is based out of British Columbia, where they have been filming and telling the story of the Gold Rush Trail from the ghosts and spirits themselves. It's an amazing story. Tonight, Derek White Sky Cloud joins us. We will also be joined by the Space Out Radio's SOR Space Wire, Eric Marcum, and from the Paranormal Healing Project, Amber Avalona. Tonight, we're going to hit the hard topics of the paranormal field, from the group responsibility to what should be the purpose of ghost hunting. Should we be solving mysteries, or should we be using the field as just an ultimate reality game? We bring in Derek White Sky Cloud, Eric Marcum, and Amber Avalona. Welcome to the show. Thanks for tuning in.
Thank you.
Hey, glad to be here.
Now, once again, I do worry. I do know about the microphone situation. I have another microphone, damn it, but for some reason, the levels are so low, it sounds like I'm talking like this. In the meantime, I'm yelling at the damn thing. So I'm a little bit technically pissed off right now, shall we say. But that's okay. That's okay. We're going to make it through. We are going to make it in good timing for the show. Man, the chat rooms are packed already. Thank you so much for doing that. Let's get to it right off the bat. Derek, you haven't been around in a while, so I'm going to get you to kick things off here. One of the topics that I have been dealing with lately on this show, Derek, is the science behind the paranormal. We hear so many of these paranormal groups that are using the word science, that everything they do is scientific. Everything they do happens to be of scientific experimentation, even though probably most of the paranormal groups out there haven't picked up a science book since grade 10 or 11 high school. Is what paranormal groups doing today, is it scientific, Derek?
You can't really label scientific if it's actually by machine either. It's normally my understanding of science is when someone actually who is a psychiatrist or psychologist or is a doctor of physics, so to speak, metaphysics, and they've studied for many years. If you have a better understanding of that, then I would say that's their understanding of what science means. But if a person's non-scientific or who doesn't have a degree, I don't know. That's my feeling. Unless a person themselves, let's say, like one of your good friends here tonight will be with who's actually on your show. He's following the science sense of it. If a person studies it a lot and you're trying to find, like I could just say, something that looks real and heard real in your ear or with your own eyesight, when you can try to prove that, then I guess I consider that science, so to speak. But still, a lot of people would not accept it because you have so many skeptic society that want to say, "Oh, I still don't believe it." Even if his science, as far as they're concerned, they may consider it as just their imagination, or they'll find it as a flaw. It's just the wind, or a crack in the floor, or a crack in the ceiling, or the house is moving. So, you would have to come to your own acceptance or understanding if you think if the paranormal, if there's actually is activity, and if you experience it yourself and you know very well there's no other way anybody else could have experienced it with you or has, then you know very well it's real. And I went through so much real stuff that has no electricity in the building, and yet they'll say, "Oh, well, the lights turned on." Really? Okay.
I have been with you when that happens.
Yes.
I have been with you when that happens. And I do want to say this. Chronicles of the Unknown has come up to my area in British Columbia to do an investigation at the 108 Mile Museum. The caretaker, Ken, showed us all around, and we did a great investigation. I was kind of like a kid in a candy store because I had never seen an investigation go on. But it was great to watch them work and see how they do it. But on the flip side, I just want to say last week, the 108 Mile Museum, which apparently now I am the official paranormal guru around there. I don't know why, but they lost their caretaker, Ken, to sickness, and so we want to wish Ken a speedy transition to the other side, and God bless him for getting to know us a little bit the way he did, because he loved that place. He loved that museum. It was a huge part of him. So, rest in peace, Ken. Thank you so much for touring around with us. So
And
I
it's
just wanted to get that in.
Place now, you realize that, right?
I hope he does.
Yeah, I hope it is.
You know what? Ken loved that place. It wouldn't surprise me if all of a sudden he showed up there and was haunting the 108. I hope so.
And you hear him say in the distance, he'll, pick me, pick me.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Amber Avalona, what is your take on the science of the paranormal? Because you have a project that you call the Paranormal Healing Project, and you help people get through these experiences. And I'm wondering, do you consider what you do or what the paranormal field is doing a science, considering the mainstream doesn't take it very seriously?
I think it's probably what would be termed a metaphysical science, if we would, or if I would term it anything at this point. I think that with what I do and with what we do in the paranormal field, we have to realize that we're coming from a place of, the way that I would explain it is our higher chakras. So it's almost as if we're coming from a place of spirit, or a place of the unknown, of the non-physical reality, and then having to come down and transfer that to the physical world that we live in, which is very different from other fields of science, which really begin with the physical. What I learned in hypnotherapy school was that when we get something like a physical disease, it's actually traveled through every other part of our body. So it's already been through the mental body, it's been through the emotional body, it's been through the spiritual body. It has affected and harmed all of those aspects of us before it gets to the physical, and then manifests as these symptoms, diseases, conditions that we would have to deal with. So I think that there is an aspect of science to it. It's something that we're exploring, and so that's kind of the fun aspect. But my concern with some of these supposed equipment that is coming out right now is that it's not independently verified. So you have somebody who creates some piece of equipment and says, well, this is science, or this does this, or this does that. And we don't know that that's true, because it hasn't been put through the same type of vigorous process that, say, some of the other scientific principles, have been. So that would be kind of my take on it.
Amber, do you believe the term is thrown around too loosely as people try to get the mainstream to take this parascience a little bit more seriously? Because it seems like it's thrown out absolutely everywhere.
Yes, well, definitely, because a lot of the people that use that, it's a hobby for them. And so I don't really consider that if something is a hobby that you take that much interest in it. I don't know a lot of paranormal investigators that actually study science, that study, even metaphysics, that study healing, that study, ghosts or anything like that. They kind of just pick up a piece of equipment. They go to a location and they say that they've caught a voice or an orb or any other, type of experience that they believe that they've caught through some piece of equipment. So, yeah, I think that it's definitely thrown around. We probably need to come up with some type of paranormal ethics committee so that we can begin to really bring our paranormal community together and then in turn be taken more seriously.
I bring in our resident scientist, Eric Marcum, on this topic because you and I have talked a lot about this topic, most of it off the air. Now, you have your degree in science, you work in the medical field, you've been a paranormal investigator along with your wife, Donna. I'm wondering, Eric, as someone who has that plethora of experience in both sides of the ledger here, is the term science thrown around way too loosely?
Yes. Yes, I do think so. I think they should say technological or use a different term altogether. There's too much of the, we're doing this scientifically. No, really all they're doing is waving some high-tech tools around and proclaiming we've got, it just doesn't follow any kind of scientific method. I haven't seen anything like that. Matter of fact, I usually catch hell in a paranormal group because I'm the one that says, yeah, your K2 meter's responding to that old router in the corner. You're talking to somebody's router. Yeah, I think it gets thrown around way too much. I think if they wanted to say we're going after it in a technological fashion, that'd be a lot more accurate. It's hard to do it scientifically because we don't have refereed journals. We don't have, positive controls, negative controls. There's no there's no reliable basis to measure our work against. There's no benchmarks. So it becomes a matter of, documentation and using technology. But as far as science goes, not really.
I would prefer if they use the term research instead of science, because we're all researching. And I think one of the things that bugs me about using the word science, when most of these groups use the word science, Derek, is when you ask them, if you delve a little further into it, and you ask them, well, what do you do with your evidence? Well, we collect it. Well, what do you collect it for? What do you do with it? Well, we cross-examine it with others. Well, what are you doing with that evidence? Well, we're just holding on to it. It seems like there's a lot of unanswered questions once they've gone through the tapes, the video, the audio of everything that they have tried to capture, and it just seems to end. Now, if this was scientific in any sort of way, the information and the line on what they are researching wouldn't just end. And I think that's my pet peeve, Derek, in regards to the use of the word science.
A part of it also, I'm sure people make a lot of big deals regarding having to use technology. I mean, I agree with the good doctor here. What would you call science? Well, number one, there have been people that actually done the research in the UK, and they call it the Skull experiment. And they did it for 5 years. Metaphysical, and they did everything. I'm talking about everything to electronics, experimenting with crystals, doing like a seance in the dark, in the basement, lights down low, totally out of the way. There's no sound. You can't hear any noise from anybody. No traffic, nothing outside. Completely quiet. These very same people gathered together for 5 years straight, and they recorded on video, on audio, and then they did the documentary on it. They've already proven that there are spirits that do exist on the other side. They've proven that people are communicating through the radio waves. They've proven all these things, and yet, if you share that same documentary to someone in the United States or in Canada, they're going to say, oh, well, how do we know it was actually rigged? Because it came from another country? Or it's because they've already proven it? How come no one's ever tried it in Canada or the United States? They just never bother trying. Why can't we do that here?
I think we're too caught up with the 24-hour society in order to try and even do something along those lines. I don't think people really want to do that, Derek.
Well, that's the thing. That's how you can really prove if this sort of thing actually exists. And these people that actually did do the Skull experiment, 3 of them were doctors. And they agreed. At the beginning, they were skeptic, but when they started getting involved, I mean, there are some documentaries, I think, online on say, YouTube, that sort of thing. Type in the word Skull experiment and watch I think that documentary still exists. But go online and find out. And then, I mean, when I watched it back in the late 80s, and then they upgraded it. Like, I mean, some of the people that were part of that Skull experiment have passed away, but there are new people coming in all the time to continue on to see what would happen next. these people are not using high-tech machines. They're just using a regular common radio wave radio. I mean, not a Frank's box, not anything else like that, just a common AM/FM radio. And these radios are so old, they were used in the military in the Second World War. That means these are live band radios. These are ones that are used to pick up all kinds of different countries. So it was quite interesting having to watch that. And I thought to myself, I would love to be part of that, just to be in it, because the experience I'm sure you guys would agree, the experience would be absolutely phenomenal.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Have any of you ever done a black room experiment, like where there is no pure light coming in, no street lights, no doorway light, anything? Have you ever had an experience like that?
Yeah.
Eric, have you?
No. I've wanted to, and I probably will in the very near future with this new house. I actually have a room. Well, the room I'm in right now, my broadcast studio, has no windows. So I only have to seal the light around one door, and I can do some black room experiments then.
Amber, have you ever done any black room experiments?
No, I haven't. It actually sounds really interesting. So if anybody out there in New Mexico wants to join me for one of those, I'd be up for trying it.
Head over to, what's that little town that Elizabeth Anglin lives in?
Yes, Madrid.
Madrid, yeah, not Madrid. Yeah. Madrid.
Right.
Exactly. I'll tell you this. When my friend Pascal was helping me open up spiritually, and Derek knows Pascal very well, very, very intelligent human being when it comes to helping people heal, and he works a lot with energy. And when he was helping me open up, we actually a couple of times did a black room experiment. And you will not believe what you see. Like the first time we did it, within 10 minutes of us sitting in there and doing a little bit of a meditation, above us on the ceiling in this room, we actually had it looked like a galaxy that was swirling on the ceiling with particles of light coming through. And then all of a sudden, as the night wore on and as everything happened, we started getting more spirit activity. And we're talking blackness, people, where if you have your hand 2 inches from your face, you cannot see your hand. So I highly suggest, if anybody wants a real trippy paranormal experience, to give it a try. Derek, what did you experience when this happened?
Well, I've been to a UEP ceremony where it's called Calling of the Spirits. And it's a traditional for a Lakota ceremony that's done by the medicine man. He's wrapped in the blanket, and they wrapped him with a rope 8 times, and he's laying face down around the ceremonial poles. This is all done in the dark. And then there's powwow drummers that are sitting next to him, and this man will call in he'll do his incantations and calling in the spirits of the spirit animals and the people, the ancestors. And this is all done in the dark. All the windows are covered, plastic. I talk about the absolute darkness. And we're all sitting and waiting, and then he's got medicine rattles, and these medicine rattles will start to shake, and one actually levitated off the ground and actually levitated about 50 feet across the room and came all the way back. And there's no way anybody can actually walk in the dark and holding on to that rattle, because it would shake in blue light, and it just came right back to the medicine man. And because how I know it would never levitate or like basically with human assistance, because the whole room is full of people. There's no way that person, if anybody actually wanted to hang on to a rattle and pretend that he's actually glowing in the dark, or even if they use a long stick, there's no way, because this rattle went across the room about 20, 30 feet and levitated itself all around us. So the medicines, and at the same time the rattle was shaking, and it was actually sending healing medicine to all of us. So everyone has different type of experience. And when I experienced that type of ceremony, doing the Nipi ceremony, it got my attention. And that's when I was curious. I wanted to talk to the spirits even in the dark. Now, when I go into the dark, walk in the dark, I'm not afraid anymore because I know that if they really want to make communication with you, because the thing is that the reason why everyone's afraid of the dark is because they're afraid if that person is human, that may hurt you. Or if a person's passed away and they want to make contact with you, the only way they can to make contact with you in the dark would be to touch you somehow, or even communicate with you with their voice, because you can't see them unless they were trying to show an apparition of themselves, which not often the whole body, full body apparition. Sometimes they'll use their face to show themselves, or they'll use a bit of a smoky look, ghostly look, or even this shadow silhouette version of it. I mean, these are all the years of my 30 years profession. That's how I experienced them being there. That's why I'm used to meeting them. And I've never had one really even try to hurt me. It's always one to communicate, to say, tell my family this, I said hello, or they want to communicate and give a message to me to pass on to someone else. So there's always something that's important, or even in the group. And I have sat with people, and we did our seances, and in the dark, and they're all so similar, but there's always a loved one that wants to communicate. It was actually somebody, and some people, not always loved ones, not somebody we know personally. I try to make contact with some people that have actually passed away, and that was kind of fun to do, that knew of me but didn't know me. So it was kind of neat.
Amber, I want to get to a question from Claudia, and we'll start with you on it if you don't mind. Derek, quickly, do you have a mute button on your mic? Because we're getting a little bit of feedback from you, Derek.
I'm not feeding back to you.
Oh, sounds like it on my side, but that's okay. We'll run with it. Your hair looks fantastic. Anyways, Amber, Claudia is asking, our body is the best conductor, allowing electrical flow, ribs the coil, surrounded by water. We are the best of technology. It seems if we use external tools, we lose our internal conductor. Would you agree with that?
In many ways, I actually would agree with that. I think that it seems to me that the people that I work with who tend to rely more and more on new equipment in the paranormal field depend less and less on, say, mediums who are amazing, do amazing work, and can oftentimes come up with information that, say, a new piece of equipment couldn't come close to replicating in this type of field at this time. And so I would say that, yes, it really depends, though. Some people are not ready to kind of go that far. They don't trust maybe their intuition. They don't want to spend the time to develop their intuitive skills or their psychic abilities, or they think that there might be something wrong with it. There can be so many reasons that they just don't want to go down that path. And so they tend to rely on what's in front of them, what they can see and hold. You've heard people say all the time, I won't believe it unless I see it. And so I'm not saying that all equipment is bad. Sometimes it can really open people up to the paranormal field. But what I would love to see is to see that progression, to see that evolution and maturity, so that it doesn't just stay with one particular piece of equipment, but people do start to use their bodies. They do start to, investigate and research with themselves and how they interact with the seen and the unseen environment.
Eric Marcum, the scientist of the group here, what is your take on what Claudia is saying in regards to whether or not we are still conductors or not if we surround ourselves with technology rather than our own senses?
Yeah, that was a very interesting premise, and I was actually thinking of how the body has analogous structures to some of the stuff that's in your technology, like capacitors and inductors, and it has I'm taking notes because it's led me down a it's opened up a path I want to investigate. I think I'm the person that switched around. I thought that a paranormal group had no business whatsoever having psychics or anything that wasn't documentable. Since then, I've realized that you've got to have both. I don't think you can go into I don't think you should go into a investigation strictly with psychics or, intuitives. But I don't think, by the same token, you should be going in there without any technology either. I think you need your psychics and your sensitives to point out where the activity is happening, and then use your technology to try to document it or capture something. Personally, I don't have... My gift is off and on. When it's on, it's bang on, but it's not predictable. So I have to use the technology as a crutch. But I think the best thing to do is have a combination of the two different the two different I guess you'd say camps working together. I think that's the only way it's going to work out better.
Go ahead.
No, I finished my thought. I'm sorry.
Derek, as a psychic medium in a paranormal team, how important is it for you to use your own vessel as the tool rather than a piece of equipment?
Well, I like to differentiate. I mean, that's why I agreed with my team members when Glenn asked me to be part of the team. Because, I mean, he had the equipment, Mike has the equipment, Troy has the equipment, and then having me there, they go in first, then I go in after, or I go in first, and they go in after to make comparisons to see, if there is anything there that would be logistical or logistical enough to say we got something here. And then, like when I'm in there, I'll make contact with whomever wants to come forward, and that's recorded. And then they come in and then try to do the same thing themselves with their equipment, or we can do it together. And it for some reason, it complements each other because we're trying to let the world know that one side is not the only thing. Whether you're a medium or a psychic or even people that like to differentiate what a psychic and a medium is. Well, a psychic, my understanding, it's a Greek word, means soul connection. And a medium is one who actually has the ability to talk to people passed away. So, and yet people are still saying, well, I'm not a psychic, I'm a medium. Well, I'm not a medium, I'm a psychic. Myself, I call myself a psychic medium because I do both. I read people's futures and see spirits or communicate. So it's a combination of understanding like how to differentiate one from the other. But I find that if you work together well as a team and also learn how to separate yourself from the equipment. I mean, like I remember earlier where, I myself as a person, I've always been curious what the equipment's like, and I wanted to find out if it really worked. So I got a hold of one of the K2 meters that Glenn has. Do you mind if I hang on to this meter? I'm going to find out myself. I'm curious. Even though yourself as a medium, you're able to communicate, but now you're trying to think, I wonder if this will work too as an addition. And then you begin to realize after it, if you start hanging on to equipment, then the people themselves are not going to believe that you have a skill because you're hanging on to a piece of equipment. So I had to learn to separate myself from that and say, you know what? I can play with it after on my own, but I don't need to be using it while I'm with my team.
Amber, what's your take on having psychic mediums as part of a paranormal team? I personally am in agreement with it. I think that it's a necessary tool in order to try and find out answers, but there's a lot of people out there, playing devil's advocate here, who say that they can also really take over a field and get the wrong information, and you're relying on someone who is going off of spirit, which could be true or could be their imagination. What's your thoughts?
I think that it is essential. I think because we're dealing with something like the paranormal, that you always want to have someone who at least claims that they have a connection with the other side and can sense things. And I always advise people to be careful, because there are those out there who might have abilities but haven't developed them to the point where they're always accurate. So sometimes the information that they give can be incorrect in the sense that it's just incomplete. So you really just want to make sure that the person that you're working with, and I've learned this by experience, you've tested them beforehand, you know their skills before you take them out on an investigation, or especially to a home, and know that there's somebody that you can trust, that the information that they've given to you has in one way or another been verified, either by the family that you're working with, by historical documents, by some type of other discovery, by the equipment that the other team members are using. But I think they're essential, and I think that as we see our planet ascend higher and higher into, the fourth and the fifth dimensions, that it's not going to be so unique. It's going to be something that people are experiencing on a day-to-day basis. And so it's just part of that evolutionary process, not just for the field, but for us as humans in particular.
Eric, what's your take on that? Because you said at first you were not about having a psychic around. How did your tune change? Do you see the importance of it now?
I just found, I guess, nobody's a believer until they're a believer, and it took meeting a psychic and having a couple experiences that kind of made me open up my mind and realize that, okay, I couldn't be that rigid in that box and explore this stuff. I had to be more expansive. And I think as more people become, it's getting to where what we're calling the paranormal is getting kind of mainstream. It's not the subject of Snickers and as bad as it was. And I think as more people accept this, the paradigm is going to shift. And I think a lot of what we experience as reality is based on how many people are on the same sheet of music, so to speak. And I think more of it's going to come on out. I think like she was saying about evolving, I think the more open we are to evolving in it, the more it's going to happen, up to a point where it's going to be like a snowball. You're going to go from a handful of people that believe in the metaphysical aspects of our day-to-day life, and then it's going to have a groundswell, and then eventually it's just going to be, I can't believe we never believed in this stuff before. If it can happen to me, it can happen to anybody.
Let's get to another question from Claudia in the SOR Space Traveler. She is asking, most of the time, if a person who hasn't had an experience, they don't usually believe you anyway. So what's it matter if it's proven? They will just say the video is fake, the picture is fake, you get the picture. The veil opens when a person opens up to the possibilities of the unknown. If they do not open up, they will not have the experience, the endless cycle. You know where we're getting at here. So, in the end, we'll start with you, Derek, on this one. Does this whole realm of paranormal really need to be proven?
Well, when I tell somebody, I say a chippe in the distance. A chippe means ghost in Cree. Because the First Nations people, for example, were also one of the original people that actually have seen spirits many, many times without having to use equipment. Our sensitivity is always there. Having to use we never had to use anything like that. So having to prove something, I mean, when you have people like that say, well, how do you know if you see something? How do you know if it's there? Well, it depends on how we want to think it. And a lot of people don't really want to see things that I guess to say they get Hollywoodized so much. They keep on seeing so many things on TV and movies. They say, no, it's not. I know it is. It's just probably a movie or something like that. Oh, it's just my imagination. Well, your parents teach you either that it's your imagination or that you really want to believe it yourself. So it depends. Depends on each person. Depends on how you live, and it depends what you see and how you understand it.
Amber, do you feel that this whole phenomena of ghosts, spirits, life after death needs to be proven?
I think that it could definitely help in the sense of potentially open people up who before didn't believe in this type of thing or who were skeptical, and it could give them proof. Probably any time that we can, in a sense, prove to one person. I don't think that you're ever going to prove something to everybody, but maybe to a certain person or a certain segment of society. We do help to kind of open them up to more aspects of themselves and to the world around them, and that's always a really good thing. So I would say, yes, it would be great to prove it. However, on the flip side, I kind of waffle on that because I don't think that it's almost as if you're having to prove your worth as a person, as a psychic medium, that you're having to prove to somebody that you never have to prove your gifts to anybody or your worth to anybody. They're going to either see it or they're not going to see it. And I think that it's the viewer's responsibility, whether they're viewing a paranormal TV show or whether they're listening to a show like this, to really sit down and to have an open mind beforehand and to say to spirit or whatever they believe in, you know what, there may be things on this show that I don't agree with, but I am willing to change if need be, and I'm willing to open up to a whole new world of possibilities. And so if some of these things are true that I don't currently believe, please reveal them to me. Show them to me. And as long as we have that type of attitude, then I think that, the paranormal field in general is going to be filled with a lot more people who are coming together rather than all this competition that we have currently. It's really going to be a collaborative effort and approach.
Well, let's talk about that competition, Derek. And Eric, I'm going to skip over you with this one here. But the competition in the paranormal field seems to be at an all-time high with people trying all sorts of different techniques. Is there anything left to really prove, Derek, in between the competition of the teams? What is that competition for? Why is it even there when, in the end, we're all trying to solve the same thing, and that is life after death?
Well, there's a good story, a good question, because competition at the very beginning, where I guess you want to say, when you really want to get into the paranormal that started or actually became bigger on TV, was the TV series up in the UK called Most Haunted. Everyone believed everything that did exist. And no questions about it. Even though they had their own skeptic on site, even that person came along, and then he reviewed all the film, and he kept on saying, "Well, I think this is this, I think that's that," and he voiced his own opinion. That's what he's stipulated to do. He's say what he believes, but what he really did is he kept it open to the public to make a decision. He didn't say that this is the only thing. He just said, this is how I see it. This is what I think it should be. The way I'm looking at it this way. This is how I understand it. So they're using it as what you call the skepticism of it. But there are people out there who will always constantly compete, because once Most Haunted started, for example, and then everybody else, and then Canada started kicking in a little bit, but not as much. It was more of a documentary. Then the United States came in, and then they started putting so many paranormal shows on, and then it was competitive amongst each other. And then it went back into Canada a little tiny bit, very, very little bit. And then all of a sudden the UK just went big, crazy, and then back again here, and even other parts of Europe. everyone is trying to find that main ghost, the one that's in your face, the one that says, "Hi, I'm Bob, and I've been dead for 50 years." They haven't done it yet. Have they? None.
No, none.
All they've done was, yes, the veil has opened up a little bit more to each of us to see more, to feel more, to hear more. But I really haven't had Bob really come and talk to me and have a great conversation like the Ghost of Mrs. Muir, and he used to be on TV years ago. And they made a big deal about that because people believe that this guy, who was an actor, played the ghost, the captain, but they believed he was real. Right? So they're thinking, oh, wow, if we can have a Ghost of Mrs. Muir type of idea of, hey, that might work.
I just have to say this. In the Space Out Radio chat room on Spreaker right now, Don keeps bugging me about gnomes because everybody knows here that I'm disliking garden gnomes. They just scare the living hell out of me. So, Don, you're a troublemaker right now. You are a troublemaker, and I'm watching you right now. Those damn things scare the living hell out of me. And gee whiz, man. Gee whiz. Eric, what is your... Now I'm rattled. Eric, what is your take on the whole perception of the competition that is going on between paranormal teams? Is it even necessary, or is it just unavoidable because of everybody has an ego?
I think a lot of it's the ego. In the groups I've been in, it was almost like if you're watching one of those fishing shows where they all go out to their secret little honey hole to get the biggest fish. It was that same mentality. And I think the idea is we would be doing a better service if we would combine our efforts and prove, how many people are afraid to walk out their doors because they're afraid is this life is all they have. The greatest things we could do is prove this is just a transient state. We're here for a while. We go somewhere else and we do something else. That death is not just the lights go out and it's worm food from there on out. I just think the egos need to get out of it, and the competition for who got the like Derek was saying, who got the captain from Mrs. Muir on tape. It just needs to be. We have to prove that there is something afterwards.
Yes, Eric, but the ego is a natural thing because for a lot of people, what the Sam Hill? What's Mrs. Spaced Out Radio doing up there? Anyways, for those of you who don't know, I broadcast in my basement, and right above me is the master bedroom, so I don't know what she's dropping up there. I'll have to shake a fist at her. Dawn already has me worked up about the damn gnomes, and now crap is falling above me here, so I'm a little jumpy right now. Anyhow.
There's nobody home.
Yeah, there's nobody home. Exactly. But when it comes to ego, you can see, though, the point that I'm trying to get at, Eric, here is there is a lot of people out there who maybe look at the paranormal as this is their one shot to try and make something of themselves. Maybe they've been in a dead-end job, or maybe they've been, shunned or put down their entire life, but they found that they're really good at being a paranormal investigator, and all of a sudden, they see all these TV shows that are popping up, they see these people on the air, and they're like, I'm better than that guy, I can do that. They go on social media, slam that show, check my information out, and the next thing they know, they try and work it into a television pilot. Someone gets all excited, because somebody says, yeah, I'll review your tape, and the next thing you know, there's that ego. It blows up all over the place. So you can see where that happens for a lot of people in this field, because there are a lot of people who are not educated. I'm not saying they haven't got their grade 12 or anything like that, but what I'm saying is they haven't gone into a field of specification and they found their niche in the paranormal. That's not a bad thing. But on the flip side, when they start putting themselves ahead of the investigation or ahead of the research, that's where it gets troublesome. Would you agree, Eric?
Yes, very much so. It's when the star becomes the show and not the research, that's where it's gone wrong. And I see, yeah, it's just the way it evolves, though. I understand what you're saying. I wish I could do paranormal full time, but I'm a lab rat. Okay, I've got to make my living so that I can enjoy my hobby. But I don't think, and if I found that one thing that would make me a TV show, yeah, I'd probably capitalize on it. But I don't. I think what happens is they lose sight of what got them there. That's where the ego part is the problem. It becomes the all about me show and not how I got there to start with. That's the problem.
They also need to understand too that they have writers. That they do have writers for some of the TV series, and the writers will tell you what to say, and
right.
They're the ones that build up your ego. They're the ones that say, okay, I want you to say to do lesser than this, and I want this guy here to go. And they'll something like, I remember I had a guy come and see me to do another TV series before this one we were doing, and he wanted me to do one that has 6 female psychics and 1 medium. And like basically it was going to be 6 women and 1 guy, and I was supposed to be that guy. I'm supposed to be the grumpy old man. I'm supposed to deny everything these women actually said. Basically, I was supposed to be picking on them and saying that my job, that what I'm doing is far better than theirs. And I said to him, I said, why? Why do you want me to make it a male-female competitiveness, and why do you want to make it where I'm going to be grumpy? He said, I thought it would be one heck of a good show. He says, I mean, you can be yourself, but we'll have our writers and get you to do certain things to piss off these women. What the hell for? Well, it's competition. This is basically what it's all about. That's Hollywood for you, he says. And I went, no, sorry, I'm not going to do that. And that was a few years back. So these things do exist.
Amber, what is your thoughts on the ego of the paranormal field?
Well, first of all, I do come on to a show like this, and I think I'm always amazed with the depth of insight that's presented by these other guests. So I think that I come on as much to learn as to hopefully share some of what I have learned. And if I ever came to it from a place of ego, which I hope that I don't, but if I did, I think I would miss out on a lot of that. And when you get to the point where ego is basically running, quote, the show or running the team, you really do stop making a difference. And I've noticed that with many, many investigators who have let ego kind of trump everything else that they're doing or that they initially had wanted to try to do in the field. And they don't last very long. For some reason or another, most of those people who are driven by ego are kind of weeded out. And I don't know if it's the spirit world that says we don't want that here. I wouldn't be surprised if it has a lot to do with things that we don't see that are going on. But it's those people that really are humble about what they're doing, but are confident, enough to present their perspective, that are the ones that do bring forth these amazing insights in the field. And so ego, it's almost like certain teams go out and investigate and they want to patent their paranormal work. They don't want to share it with anybody. They don't want anybody else to get a part of the glory or the fame or whatever it is, this new finding that is a part of our culture when you have something like this. But it doesn't do a lot of good. It really maybe has kept us as far down as we are now. I think that we probably would have advanced a lot further if ego had not been in the picture as much as it has been.
I agree, but I think there's something more to it as well, and that is your own personal expectations. And when we get back after our first break, which is in about 3 minutes, I'm going to ask you guys a pinpointed question on what should be the purpose of paranormal investigation, because we've seemed to have turned this, Eric, from a point where we're trying to figure out what ghosts are to making it about us and what we can find. We've made it about us instead of them. And yet we're using them on the other side, whomever they are, to try and reach our own personal gain.
Yeah, everybody wants to win the lottery with the, to be come out on top and get the best proof or the best footage. And it's ruining, not ruining, I guess. You can't really ruin this because it'll outlive us, so to speak. But I mean, it's soiling the intent. It went from, hey, let's see if there's something on the other side to, hey, let's make money trying to show that there's something on the other side. It's too much, it's too much of that chasing fame, I think. My personal opinion.
Derek, how about you? You got the final say. We got about 30 seconds left.
Well, unknowingly, I'd be soiling too, like Eric, if I got scared. In one point it's competitive, but I think anything and everything you do in a program, like no matter even if you're a DJ in other radio shows, talk shows, it's competitive too. They always have their favorite DJ or their favorite song or their favorite recording artist. There's always going to be competition, no matter what, and it's a competitive world because everybody wants to get ahead and they really want to see proof and see who's the best. I mean, if you go on YouTube or any other types of social network, you can try and have people out there that are going to try their darndest to say, okay, this ghost is better, this ghost is better, this person's better, this is better, this is better. I got this.
Derek, you hold up. We got some. We got to get to our commercial break. Chronicles of the Unknown on Spaced Out Radio, the third Monday of every month. We'll be right back right after this.
Looking for news beyond the mainstream news? Head to spacedoutradio.com and check out the SOR Spacewire. This is Spaced Out Radio's Eric Marcum,
okay, guys.
Director for the SOR Spacewire. Daily, I will bring you intriguing stories and outlandish reports from what's going on around the world. UFO sightings, paranormal activity, conspiracies, alternative health, and so much more. And if you have news, email me at news@spacedoutradio.com.
Hi there. I'm Butch Witkowski, lead investigator with U4COP. On the final Monday of every month, you can listen to me and host Dave Scott on Spaced Out Radio's Strange Days. We're going to get to the heart of the matter when it comes to what's happening out there. People are seeing and experiencing things from ET contact to Bigfoot, and I want to hear about it. Your experiences are what we investigators need to help solve these unknown mysteries. So tune in at spacedoutradio.com.
Greetings and salutations, space travelers, from the Chronicles of the Unknown team.
What is Chronicles of the Unknown? I keep hearing about this thing.
It's a new paranormal reality TV show based right here in beautiful British Columbia, Canada. Follow our team as we uncover claims of activity on the Caribou Gold Rush Trail. You can also follow us here every third Monday, where two members of our team will be available to answer your questions.
Have you ever wondered about those weird and strange creatures people have reported throughout history? Do you wonder if those stories are real? Me too, and that's why I started Cryptopia.us. Hey, this is Rob Morphy, crypto historian. Join me once a month on Spaced Out Radio with Dave Scott, where we will get into the odd and bizarre reports, from the Dover Demon to hairy hominids and everything in between. I will break down what people like you and me are seeing at spacedoutradio.com.
Visit purpleplates.com today. For over 40 years, the Purple Energy Plates have been delivering amazing results for their many customers. Inspired by the great genius Nikola Tesla, the harmony, healing, and energetic effects of the plates have proven over and over to be beneficial and often miraculous to thousands of customers. With their money-back guarantee and the many benefits, how can you afford not to get one? Check their site for daily specials and choose from their many energy products. You won't be sorry. Visit them today at purpleplates.com for mind, body, and spirit, and expect a miracle.
Strange creatures lurking in the night, the sounds of wood knocking in the forest, odd happenings right out of a fictional world. These are the reports I love. Hi there, this is author Ronald Murphy, and And I would love it if you join me and Spaced Out Radio host Dave Scott the second Wednesday of every month on our journey into the unknown land of cryptozoology at spacedoutradio.com. From Mothman to Frogman and everything in between. Hey, they don't call me the crypto guru for nothing.
Are you interested in advertising on Spaced Out Radio? Head to our website at spacedoutradio.com and click on our advertising tab. There, you will find an assortment of ways you can get your product out there with us, from radio commercials to banners and social media. Have a product you like our hosts to endorse? We can do that too. Visit spacedoutradio.com for more details.
From British Columbia to Northern California, Pacific North Weird has Cascadia covered. Check out our feature videos at spacedoutradio.com, where I, Vincent Zunza, and my super sleuth partner Alexandra Sullivan track down the weird and strange stories from around the Pacific Northwest, from Bigfoot to Mel's Hole and everything in between. This is what makes life exciting. So why report the normal when we can report the Pacific North Weird? Right here at spacedoutradio.com.
Oh, there's only one way to rock. Loud and proud. In high definition. Radio 702 rocks. Las Vegas.
Have you ever had an extraterrestrial experience? One you just couldn't explain? Well, maybe I can help. Hello, I am Samantha Mullet. On the second Tuesday of each month, I will join Dave Scott on Spaced Out Radio to bring a human aspect to ET contact. It's something I've lived with my entire life, and I'd love to help you understand. Let's share our experiences. The ET Experience, the second Tuesday of each month, only on Spaced Out Radio.
Hi there, this is Jolene with Rivulet Reiki and Readings, and I want you to relax. Let me help you chill out and get in touch with your body, mind, and soul. In this busy world, sometimes we need to let go, and this is where I can help. Visit my website, rivuletrndr.wix.com/rivuletrndr.
Every Saturday and Sunday night, as Dave Scott wanders aimlessly in the wilderness, you can come hang out with me, James Tyson, in Spaced Out Weekend. Starting at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern, I'll take you along as we talk with some of the best experts in their fields. SpacedOutRadio.com is the place to find us. So sit down, relax, put your feet up. Enjoy the topics like the paranormal, supernatural, intuitiveness, and so much more. Hope to see you there.
Hi there, this is your psychic medium, Joanna, and I would love it if you would join us every other Sunday on Spaced Out Weekend. With host James Tyson, we'll bring you personal psychic messages on two mediums and a large. Questions about love, life, career changes. We would love it if you would come and join us live. Call in and listen in for the experience. Allow us to open the doors to your other side. Two mediums and a large, heard only on Spaced Out Weekend at spacedoutradio.com.
Would you like to become one of our space travelers? All you have to do is click on the Space Travelers icon at spacedoutradio.com. For only $5 a month, you can get access to some great prizes, as well as private monthly shows, newsletters, and a members-only section on our website. Become a space traveler today.
Do you have a topic or a guest that you'd like to hear on Spaced Out Radio? Let us know at spacedoutradio.com, where you can sign up to become a Space Traveler member today. Or you can find us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on our Facebook page, Spaced Out Radio Show. Welcome back to Spaced Out Radio. Tonight I am your host, Dave Scott. Tomorrow night on the show, author and psychic medium A.C. Vayner will join us as we are going to talk about spirit tomorrow night on the mighty SOR starting at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern Time. Remember, if you want to follow us on Twitter, you can do so at Spaced Out Radio. Give our Facebook page a like, Spaced Out Radio Show. On Instagram, we can be followed at Dave Scott SOR. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, Spaced Out Radio Show, and our website is spacedoutradio.com. While there, you could join the SOR Space Travelers Club. It's only $5 a month. With that, your name gets put into monthly prize draws. You get access to private group interviews, access to a special posting section on our website, and so much more. You can also read up on Eric Marcum's SOR Spacewire, read our latest blogs, and, of course, check out our music maestro, the guitar god Mr. Ron Bumblefoot THAL, formerly of Guns N' Roses, who does all of our music for this show. You can also check us out on TuneIn, and you can download our podcast at any time on iTunes. Tonight we are talking with the group from Chronicles of the Unknown. Before we bring them in, we do want to remind you, Revolution Radio is a donation station financed by you, the valued listener. Do us a favor and donate today. Derek White Sky Cloud from Chronicles is joining us. Also with us tonight is the Paranormal Healing Project's Amber Avalona. You're going to hear her around these parts a heck of a lot more. And Eric Marcum from the SOR Space Wire. Thank you so much for being with us.
Glad to be here.
I want to get into the purpose of the investigation. But before we do that, we have a lineup of questions here from our Spaced Out Radio listeners. So let's get to them right off the bat. Robert is asking, and he's asking about skeptics. So Eric, we'll start with you on this one. Do any of you feel that some skeptics simply want to doubt the paranormal, so they are out of the cognitive dissonance of everything? In essence, what he's trying to say is that perhaps some people aren't comfortable with the idea that the afterlife does exist because it might be too much to handle.
Yeah, I think the word skeptic gets misused somewhat. I mean, a skeptic is somebody whose mind is open but wants to see proof or see something. Not even so much proof, maybe, but just wants to have something beyond somebody's word for it. And then you've got the debunker who, if a ghost materialized in front of them, poked them in the eye, and apparated away, they would not accept that as proof. So I consider myself a skeptic. I'll hear a story. I want to go see it and check it out for myself. But I'm not going to go in there and say this isn't true no matter what.
Do you believe then that there's a big difference between the word skeptic and, say, someone who is what I like to call a five senses person, where if it's not one of their five senses, they're just not believing it?
Yes. A skeptic is somebody who, think of like the Fox Mulder type on X-Files, or somebody who is open to the information. Then you've got the closed-minded five senses type that if it wasn't written in the Bible or it wasn't, it doesn't exist past the five senses, no matter what. If it's something weird happens to them, they look on it as must have been something I ate. Like, think of Ebenezer Scrooge telling Marley he was a piece of underdone potato. They're not going to believe it no matter what. So yeah, there's a difference. A skeptic will come away after a profound experience and be changed, where a debunker, or like you call them the five senses type, they're not going to accept it no matter what.
Amber, what is your thoughts on the skeptic versus the people who are just non-believers?
Well, I definitely agree with a lot of what's been said already. As far as the skeptic is concerned, I was thinking about it too, and I'm sure there's a little bit of skeptic in all of us in regards to something at one point or another. The people who rely only on their five senses, and I know the Bible was mentioned earlier, and I came from a Christian background growing up, and in the Bible it said even when Jesus was doing his miracles, there were people that came up to him and afterward and said, "Show us a sign." He had already been healing people, he had already been performing miracles, and they were asking for more. And he said, "Even if I gave it to you, you still wouldn't believe." And there are people out there who are just so closed down. Their soul is so shriveled in a sense that they can't accept much of anything outside of themselves at this point. And I understand that because is there it sounds like there's a feedback. But because I believe in reincarnation, there really is a sense of understanding that not everybody's on the same plane right now, and people are going to be at different stages of their personal development as well as their spiritual development. And just, in my opinion, sometimes I'll just pray for those people. Sometimes they really frustrate me, but I just hope for the best and that at some point their eyes can be open to what it is they need to see.
Derek, your thoughts, skeptic versus non-believer. Is there a difference between the two?
Yeah. I love skeptics. I love picking on skeptics because I've had them come to my house to sit there and they cross their arms and they'll look at me and they'll say, okay, tell me something I don't know. And when I start talking to them, the expression of their face and their arms start to come down to their lap. And they look at me, and a lot of times they'll come with their partner, their wife or girlfriend, whatever have you. And it's mostly the men, not as much as the women, but it's the men. And their arms start to come down towards their lap a little bit more, and they look at their girlfriend like, "What did you tell him?" And the girl will say, like, "Nothing." Well, you must have, because there's no way he would have known this. Certain things that we are told to say as a medium, I'm even myself, I'm actually skeptic of other psychics, because some other psychics out there, and I'm sure you guys will agree, they're not all psychics are good at what they do. Sometimes they make things up because there's a difference between, there's a little bit of a story that a psychic will work themselves up to you to talk about something before they start doing their supposedly reading, and yet by the time they're done working with you to talk to you, they pretty well know everything about you. And that's not what a true psychic or skeptic is. You shouldn't have to tell them. You shouldn't have to talk to them. Our training is actually right to your face. I don't talk to them and say, "How are you doing? Where you're from? Da da da." I just tell you who you are. I listen to the vibration of your voice. And your first name. That's all I need. I don't need no last name. I don't care if you're famous. I worked with a lot of famous people, but I didn't even know they're famous because they come and see me. And they just go by the first name. I don't ask for their last name. I don't ask who they are, how famous they are. I tell them what I see. And that gives you the value of yourself or how that person perceives you. And myself, for years, I've been helping to fight and support other mediums and other psychics that are very good at what they do as far as their work is concerned. And I've seen them get torn down by some skeptics on television. And I'm not going to name this guy because everybody knows who he is, but he was one of the worst people around that was so adamant to destroy all psychics in the field that he even put up $1 million bounty on them. And the bounty wasn't to hurt them, but the bounty was to destroy the reputation, as in proof. He wanted those people to come to his location and to test them, his version of testing them, to see how accurate they can be. But everything has to be 100%, or as far as he's concerned, they're not a psychic nor medium. They're just making it all up. And his version is that we're out there to hurt people. We're out there to ruin other people's lives or reputations, and that's not what it's about. So there's a difference. And there are people out there, I call them psychic stalkers. And those ones, if they're out to hurt our reputation, good luck. But I always teach people all this. Anybody who's involved in this field, no matter if you're a paranormal investigator, teacher, that sort of thing, you learn to have a strong, tough heart. You don't allow people to tear you down, because if you let them tear you down, you won't succeed. And it happened to me a few times. I've had people not even realize what they're doing, and they knocked me down, and they got me at my weak point where I had lost someone so close to me in family, and that person or persons were continuously attacking me, and I said, you know what, I can't handle this right now. I'm out of here. I'm not talking to people for a while. And then I regrouped myself after a month, and then I'm okay after. Because you can be the best in the world at what you do, but you still are human, like everyone else. We're here in this world for one reason, and that is to help people. Eric's here to help people. And this young lady I'm sorry, I forgot your name, my dear, that's on this show.
Amber.
Amber. I won't forget your name now because you have a friend of mine, her name's Amber. And she used to go by the name, and the reason why I never forget her name, because one time she did a show, and she lit a candle, and she was doing a reading for someone, and somebody reached over and knocked her candle over and caused a little bit of a smoke amber in her tablecloth. And no, she didn't even see it, and never did. And I said to her, well, I guess that suits your name now. You're called Amber. And so, but no, nobody called her Smokey, but they called her Amber. But the thing is that in our work, what we're trying to do is to give value to who we are as human beings and give value to everyone. I mean, even when Dave does his show, I give him value because I see Dave so successfully, absolutely successful. And I did say to Dave, he's going to be the next, not George Norrie, he's going to be the next, well, let's see.
I just want to be the next Dave Scott.
Yeah, the next Dave Scott. I didn't want to go build it up that big. But Dave's good at what he does because Dave listens and he's out there to help too. And that's what we're here for, because we want to keep it open for an option. You have an option. It's either you decide to agree or you disagree.
Fully understand that. And you know what? You have to be able to have some bit of skepticism with everything in this field. I know that on Spaced Out Radio here, our motto is we believe everybody, because, Derek, I've never stood in your shoes. I've never stood in Eric's shoes. I've never stood in Amber's shoes, nor anybody else's shoes who is either listening to this show or has been a previous guest on this show. So we try and take everything at face value. A lot of people may not like that, but it's also my job to try and challenge that if something seems to be getting a little bit out of hand. But the problem is, too many people, I think, are jumping to conclusions that they have no idea about. And what I mean by that is, you have people, say, in the field of ufology. I know it's off topic, but we have people saying all aliens are bad. We have people who are saying that anybody who is psychic is got a gift from the devil. We have people who are saying that, all paranormal activity is that of demons. So we have all of these different fields out there, and I think you have to take with a grain of salt absolutely everything that you have out there or what you hear out there and form your own opinion. But you have to be open-minded enough, Amber, and I'm sure you'll agree with this, you have to be open-minded enough to understand that you're not going to hear what you want to hear all the time. And I just want to give one quick example on this. Bigfoot. I'm a firm believer that Bigfoot is not a regular creature. I've taken heat for that. I've seen the comments on YouTube about that. They're not very pleasant, right? But my own personal experience, combined with what I have learned from various First Nations friends up here in Canada, leads me to believe that there's something more supernatural to Bigfoot than just being Gigantopithecus running around the forests of North America and other countries around the world. So, are we too close-minded, Amber, as a paranormal society to even come close to finding what the truth is?
In certain situations we are. I just wanted to say real quickly that I agree with you as far as Bigfoot, and I think we've talked about it just a little bit before, being more of a supernatural creature, maybe even jumping dimensions, that type of situation. But it can be really difficult for someone who's coming from a standpoint where they don't believe in the paranormal, and then maybe they get involved in something like these regular paranormal shows that we have here in America that really do recycle a lot of their theories and a lot of the experiences. And that's all that's really kind of that a lot of people see, because they maybe don't have the time or the energy or maybe even the desire to kind of research some of these topics more. So it can, even within the paranormal field, it can be, like you said, very close-minded. There can be boxes that we put around something like a ghost. This is what it has to be and only this. Or activity, it can only be a demon. It can't be another type of creature, or things of that sort. And where I come from, doing the healing aspect of it, more than maybe the investigative aspect, is that there are things that I run into every week that I have never seen before. And I have to accept that if I'm going to help heal that person in that moment. Because if I come across something and I begin to doubt myself, I know it never turns out well. And if I just go with it and I work with what I'm seeing and I trust my psychic senses, I trust what I'm hearing, what I'm seeing, what I'm being told from my guides, then we're able to heal people in ways that they never would have thought possible before. And so maybe that's the part of the paranormal field that we're really going to begin to open up to, is the fact of the paranormal healing aspect of it. And maybe it's going to take us learning more about the healing aspect to really kind of grow in our understanding of some of these paranormal phenomena that we might not otherwise run into very much. That would be, I guess, my opinion on that.
And a good opinion it is. Derek, would you say then that there has to be some sort of continuity? I guess that's the word I'm looking for. Continuity between what the investigation is compared to what people believe. Because right now it's so intertwined that I'm not sure we could ever get out of this rut to bring some sort of credibility to the paranormal.
Well, there are so many people now that are in the paranormal field on TV. There must be at least a good 8 or 9 shows now. Most of them are from the States, a couple from the UK, maybe one for sure in the UK. There's a couple of them in Canada right now, and but the thing is that it's still a bit of competition. But again, legitimacy, well, it's up to the person themselves to believe it. And there are people known to actually hype up a specific site. Sometimes they tend to over dramatize it to make it more exciting than it's supposed to be. But that's the way you're supposed to make it at times. It's supposed to be, so exciting. But, every time I go to a location, it's exciting to me because it's new. Something I've never been there before. And so I want to find out if there's actually something there or not. And if there is, then we can do the research. But if it's been repeated by other paranormal investigating teams, sometimes the site's been tainted so much that what can you get out of it? So you try to find places that have never been investigated before. You try to find people that, even the that's not in the newspaper. Like you want to find places sometimes that are not in the newspapers, but you've heard the story. What's a legend, what's a rumor, and see if it really did exist. But you want to put a good story to it, and that takes a long time to do the research because you want to find out. Sometimes some people will do research ahead of time. Some people wait till after what they can find on certain things and locations. So it depends. It's hard to break that down even for myself.
Let's get to another question from Claudia in the SOR Space Travelers. Eric, we'll start with you on this one. Claudia is asking, the understanding that there is afterlife is a blessing. Could it be that people do not talk about death out of fear? They avoid it, and that is a reason they cannot open up to the possibilities of ghosts, out-of-body experiences, etc.?
Well, yeah, I mean, you look at it, and death is... It's there. It's waiting for every one of us. We're dying as we speak right now. And I think that without a sure bet, so to speak, it's a horrifying thing. I mean, I'm good with it either way. I honestly think there is something afterwards, so it doesn't hold that much fear to me. I mean, I fear more the way I'm going to die, and sometimes I think maybe it's ways that we can die more than death. I mean, nobody wants to be run over by a steamroller, or there's horrible ways to die. Maybe death isn't so much the problem as people perceive how you get there. I mean, we don't all get to lay down, close our eyes, and wake up in the afterlife. There's crappy things that happen to people. And I think, like in my dad's case, the closer he gets, there's obviously more days behind than there are ahead of him. And he doesn't like to talk about it because it is a reminder of mortality. And I think it's more that, not wanting to go beyond, or kind of, I don't know how to articulate what's in my head. But I think death in itself is just this looming thing, like tax season, and I think that taints a lot of the average person's outlook on the metaphysical.
Amber, are you still with us? Okay, her phone may have dropped. We're going to get Amber back here momentarily. Derek, how would you like to respond to that? People don't like talking about death because it just seems to be quite it's a sore point of controversy, because for a lot of people, we all know what's going to happen, but we do everything to try and avoid it.
I think what it is that makes it difficult to talk about death is because, for example, if there's someone that's close to you that you've known, and that person just recently passed away.
Don't mind the ringing. I'm just trying to bring Amber back in.
I lost 3 friends this past week that all passed away.
Yeah.
And
Derek.
Yeah, I lost 3 friends this past week, and the first thing came to my mind is, you want to send them to your condolences, but in your mind you're thinking, what the hell, these guys now are free of pain. Now they're no longer suffering. And because most of the time they either had dementia or they had cancer, and those are the 2 main things that most people go through because they suffer through it. And then yet, you're young. Why should a person lose their life so quickly when you're hoping that you can have a long life? And yet I'll meet other people throughout my life, and they've all said to me, oh, well, I don't want to live a long life and look old. I want to die young. Just give me what you've got, and I'll just keep on living until I die young. I live on the edge. But the thing is that the hardest part, I think, that when you talk to someone who you know very well is close to you, and you say, my condolences with you that your loved one's there, even though they themselves are spiritual and they themselves could also be a psychic, but they're still human, because you're trying to avoid talking about death. You're trying to avoid talk about that they just left you. and their body's not there. The spirit's in spirit. Their spirit's there, but the body's no longer suffering. And so you avoid it until they themselves have come through, have decided to deal with their healing, and then you can talk about it more. Because then by the time a year to 2 years, and then they're willing to come forward and talk to you and say, how's my partner doing, or how's my friend doing? Then I find out. I'll try to make contact with them and see if they want to come talk. If they do, you'll know. It's just that message is there, but it depends. I mean, it is I would say the hardest part is me having to make the contact, because when someone's close to you, like I said, it's not someone who's living a regular common life. Say, I'm not going to say Eric passed away, but say Eric, as an example, left us suddenly. Then I'm sitting there going, what the hell? Now I got to go talk to Eric. Eric, what the hell are you doing on the other side? What'd you do? What happened to you? Then he's explaining to me what happened after you passed away. Well, why so soon? What happened? What caused you? What made you decide to leave so quickly? Well, because it's my birth contract is the way it was supposed to be. But yet, he's told that when he crossed over, but yet he's not talking about the suffering he went through. So everyone goes through something different.
Mm-hmm. Amber, what is your thoughts on the fact that a lot of people may divert the topic of the afterlife in the paranormal field because they may fear about death?
Mm-hmm. Sorry guys, my phone cut out for a little bit, so I didn't hear everything you were talking about. But as far as asking about avoiding the topic of death for personal reasons, is that pretty much what we're discussing at this point?
Claudia had a question basically saying the understanding that there is an afterlife is a blessing. Could it be that people do not talk about death out of fear?
Oh, definitely, yes. I think a lot of people, what they say, you fear something, you fear the unknown more than the known a lot of times. And so that's why people stay in bad relationships, they stay in bad jobs, they stay in bad situations, because to them it's, in a sense, comforting, because they know what it's like compared to launching completely out on your own, where you have potentially no support system or something like that. And I don't know that we're really taught, I would say in America, and I know that I wasn't taught, in my school or even really in church and growing up, how to talk about death, how to really explore that aspect of what I would consider to be just another phase of life. We would talk about it being eternal life, but people don't want to bring up a topic that makes them anxious when they don't know that they're going to find a solution to that anxiety. And so why would they kind of open up Pandora's box if they don't know that they can ever close it again? And I think that is probably a lot of the motivation behind it. I can understand that, especially coming from the perspective that I do as a paranormal healer. And we never want to talk about something that traumatizes somebody. We want to make sure that we can help them through that trauma. And not everybody knows how to navigate that emotional process, that mental process, or even that spiritual process. So yes, there can be a lot of fear around it.
If I can add, go ahead, something else for you, there are some First Nations traditions that I have worked with other people in the Native community. In my understanding, a lot of them actually, say some of the people from the West Coast territories, if a person passes away, they're not allowed to even talk about that family member that passed away for at least a year. Even if that loved one, say if it's a husband and wife, and say the husband passed away, that wife is not even allowed to even talk about her husband. And also, at times, they prepare to burn all his belongings. And sometimes they will even go as far as burning all his photographs. So basically, you're totally disacknowledging of his existence completely for a whole year, and then they talk about him a year later. And then there are people of other First Nations, the Cree, for example, they'll celebrate that person's passing for 4 years straight. They'll hold a round dance and celebrate for 3 days for that person that's crossed over, to celebrate those 4 seasons with them. And but they do talk about them. You know, it's good to keep their memory alive, because that's one thing that most people may not understand. There's so many cultures across the world that everyone follows something different, and when they pass away, and even through Christianity at times they used to do the same thing. And even through Christianity, they would say, "Oh, if a person passed away young, that must have been a sinner." And then they pick on that person. I mean, the priest would pick on the person after he or she's passed, and they kept on calling them a sinner. The reason why they died because they're a sinner. Well, you know, like all these other little things they throw at them, and you try to be as respectable and respective as possible to help them ease their guidance into the spirit world. And then when everything norms down in their passing, then they're going to come and visit you, and then that's where it happens. So it depends on each individual.
Let's get to another question here from the Spaced Out Radio SOR Space Travelers on Facebook. This one comes from Robert Rose, and he is asking, if you take any evidence from an investigation, you should be able to share what you find. Is this something you agree with, Amber?
I would like to see our community adopt that philosophy. I think that it would be wonderful to have something like a paranormal online library where groups can upload their documentation so that we have a central location that we can go to. You know, a lot of the issue with the paranormal investigation, too, is that it's very difficult to recreate a situation. So we have a lot of difficulty in replicating, you know, maybe what someone else has, the documentation that someone else has come up with. So it would be wonderful to kind of bring those together, and I think we would probably learn a lot more about some of these phenomena that we're still debating and questioning if we were able to compile all of that. I'll just use the term evidence, or all of that data. Data is probably a better word for that in this case. And it would also hold us more accountable, and it would allow us to maybe begin to have dialogue about certain things within the community and build that sense of kinship that I think would really kind of move us forward. That was a good question.
Do you think there should be some sort of database then, Amber, in regards to this? Because it would be difficult to get proper groups in there. There's over 36,000 paranormal teams in the United States that are registered online alone. We don't know how many there are that are not on social media or just working behind the scenes. Is it too big, too spread out, too vast in order to gain some sort of dialogue or some sort of area where we can gather information in one place?
Well, what we want to do is we want to make sure that we filter out the frauds. I know that there was a recent case here in New Mexico where there was a gentleman who basically admitted to one of our investigators that he forged his evidence. And he was trying to get money to fund a documentary on orbs, and he really wanted to kind of put this out there in Hollywood. So those are the people that we don't want. We don't want to taint the evidence or the data beyond what might already be there, because it's already difficult for us to kind of research it to begin with. So maybe beginning with something like what the psychology, the APA does, the American Psychological Association, is coming up with people who are willing to pay a membership see every year. They sign a code of ethics. There are some teams out there that, in my opinion, are doing very unethical things, deceiving clients so that they can prevent that client from speaking with anybody else in the paranormal community, having them sign contracts that these people don't know that they're giving away basically their right to free speech. And I don't agree with that. I don't agree that only one show, one paranormal investigator, no matter how popular or famous you are, should have access to one case, to one person, or to one interview subject. So we want to probably kind of make some guidelines and go from there, and then those people that are trusted and that are willing to say, hey, I want to be held accountable, both personally and professionally, and I'm willing to do this to the best of my ability, then we definitely want some of those people in there who we can trust what they're giving to that paranormal database.
Derek, you're pulling up almost 40 years in paranormal investigation. Do you think...
You're scaring me.
Well, the weird part about it is your hair is only like 25 years old.
Yeah, that's okay. I appreciate that.
Well, I appreciate good hair. But on what I'm trying to get at here is, do you think there should be a database? Now, I know the group TAPS apparently has a database that every TAPS team sends their evidence to. But I still don't see what people are doing with this evidence. I mean, sure, we're collecting it, we're categorizing it, they've made a business out of it. Wonderful. Great. But what are they doing with the evidence? Does there not have to be some sort of group, maybe at a university or 5 universities, that should get together and say, we're going to take all of this evidence, like Amber said, get people to sign documents so that they are legalized to present evidence in these groups. They're screened and everything like that in order to try and maintain some sort of credibility.
Well, actually, to be honest with you, paranormal investigators are like psychics. And for example, in the UK, you have to have a license to be a psychic. If you don't have that license, if you don't pay for that license, you can be arrested and thrown in jail. In Canada, there actually is a Witchcraft Act that still exists. And if you made a prediction of certain things that could happen, say, in the country of Canada or United States, and if you know very well certain things that may cause, say, a military issue, and you predicted it, and if they took it to heart that it really did happen, and they're thinking, okay, you either are a traitor to the country, or if you did predict it, you're considered as a okay, we need to silence you. So they either prosecute you, throw you in jail, or because if you're making predictions or doing certain things. So if you're licensed, you're not harming other people. So myself, when I cross Canada, there are certain provinces that you have to have a license to practice your skills. I believe in all of Canada and United States should be licensed, including paranormal teams. That makes you legitimate. When you keep records, there should be a file set up where even the government can actually keep that file for you. That you can actually have it placed into a file or under the spiritualist church files, because it's under the federal government as well. I'm also a minister. And they would keep the file for you too. So basically, there are other registered government businesses or buildings available that you can actually file that under. You can secure it to protect it. It depends on each individual what they want to do. But if you're going to be out there, I mean, every Tom, Dick, and Harry wants to have a paranormal team. All of a sudden, that I would say, since we started I would say since Glenn and myself and Mike and Troy, and even when Glenn started the Canadian Paranormal Team, Paranormal Society, and then after that, then we started the Chronicles the Unknown team. And the reason why I started this team, because we want to use it specifically for TV It had nothing to do with being out there every day or every week to go and investigate certain locations. We use it specifically for media. That's the reason why we did it. But the thing is that I would say, probably Glenn May and the guys may agree, there are new paranormal teams out there now that are trying to start their own teams. And they are trying to do the same thing what we're doing, and they want to see if they can get the same results, and they are thinking it's all exciting. But what are they going to do with it after? Are they going to keep records of it? Or are they just going to go around and say, I'm having fun. This is fun. I'm going to go into a haunted place. This is fun. It's not fun. Not all of it's fun because somebody can get hurt. If you don't know how to do this properly, you can seriously get hurt. And you can end up in the hospital. And if you don't know how to take care of it, you can seriously get hurt. And I've seen my team members damn near get seriously hurt, and you know that, Dave. So the thing is that it's something we can't scoff about. We can't just set them off and think this is, it's so easy to do this, and then I can do this and I can do that, and I want to be this, I want to be a wannabe. Well, if you want to be a wannabe, you're going to have some experience. You're going to have some training. You can't just walk in and do whatever you want. And these files, there should be. Actually, the Canadian Paranormal Society is a registered team. It's registered as a society in the government. That means that we do have official files. As a COTU team, we do have files, and it's still connected to the Canadian Paranormal Society. Those are official files. That means that we can use those. And any time that we actually have anybody that's going to be interviewed, they sign a waiver. And that waiver is to be, if we're going to put their picture of themselves or the interview on television and media. If they're not wanting to be in the waiver or not to sign the waiver, then we don't put them in it. But yet there are teams out there that are actually not even asking for waivers. They're going right ahead and putting them on TV or other media, and that's how they get in trouble. And we need to be very aware of that. And people have to understand that this has to be respected, and that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to be respectable in our profession, and it takes a lot of years.
This brings up my next question then, and we're going to get heavy into this going into the next and final hour as well. What should be the purpose of the investigation then? We see a lot of people treating paranormal ghost hunting adventures much like paranormal tourism. It's almost like a reality game show or a better version of Pokemon Go, to be absolutely honest. And I know a few of you have heard me say that over the last couple of weeks, but that's the reality of it. Do you think, Eric, there should be some sort of answer to why you were doing this? And it's more than, well, when I was 10 years old, I lost my best friend Jimmy to cancer, and now I want to know what death is all about. It's got to be more than that. What do you think, Eric?
I think there ought to be an end game. I think there should be a clear end purpose for what you're doing. I also think there should be, like in the sciences, let me back up a minute. In the sciences, if you want to publish something about microbiology, there's the American Society for Microbiology. That's where all this stuff goes. And then I think that our field, I'm throwing all of us paranormal people into one lump here, we should have a version of that where you have people like Derek who have got 40 years of experience reviewing the data that comes in, like peer reviewed, and then this goes into the database for future reference for other people. I don't think it should be, I agree with you in the Pokemon Go. It's just gotten ridiculous in that it's more of a game than it is trying to find out some answers.
I like the way Derek put it, is that this is dangerous. People can get hurt because you don't know what you're dealing with. And it's become too much like a game because, once again, we get back to the whole field of investigation and education. And a lot of people, all they are doing is learning their skills and honing their skills by what they see on YouTube, what they see on television. Amber, your opinion. Is it too much of a game now in the paranormal rather than being quality research, even though that's what people claim to be calling it?
Definitely. And that's the scary part, if I would use that word, about the paranormal community. And I'm talking about the U.S. I don't know too much about Europe or Canada, but in the United States, I've worked with them a lot. And I've also, watched a lot of shows and done a lot of research on teams. And it can be a game. It can become an addiction, just like to anything else. And when people become addicted to something, they do lose touch with reality. And it does become something that they have to do and to get that high. And so because I deal with some of the worst aspects of some of these cases where people go to an investigation and, they get a demonic attachment. They get some type of, they open up a portal, whether it's reptilian or something else. They have teams, other teams, unfortunately, that are using black magic against them. I do tend to kind of work with some of the really darker aspects of the paranormal, and it can get bad, and it can ruin people's lives. And I think that that's something that not enough people take seriously at this point. And I've had investigators who will not cleanse themselves. They refuse to. They refuse to protect themselves. And they carry so many attachments that anytime they go in to investigate a location, they are already tainting any evidence that they would get from that location. Because you can't tell if they're picking up on their entities or potentially an entity at that location. And so that's, there are many, many aspects of this that we do need to consider, and we need to consider it professionally. We need to consider it seriously, and we need to start holding especially some of our higher profile paranormal investigative teams accountable for what they project as the paranormal investigations to the populace at whole, and especially to their viewers, because I have known situations where even viewers have caught things from watching a show. And it's very easy for an entity to come through a television set to, everything's energy. And we don't know how they travel, but we do know that they can use electrical lines. We do know that laundry rooms are hot spots in homes and locations, things like that. So it would be any type of phone or computer equipment and things like that. So, we need to start speaking about this more and more, and we need to realize that it's not all fun and games, that people can die and people can get seriously hurt, and people can hurt others in the process.
So in your mind then, Amber, what should be the purpose of the investigation?
In my mind, I think that it should be to advance the field. I guess that I would allow for people going on investigations to begin with because it's fun and they want to learn, and that's wonderful. But I do think that there needs to be a progression, just like anything else, just like if you're going to college and you're studying a particular field. You know, you go from your freshman year to your sophomore to your junior to your senior to your master's degree, you know, and on and on and on if you want to. So there always needs to be that end game of, I think, helping to advance the field and to make the world a better place.
Derek, I'll give you last word. We got about a minute and a half before we're going to take out our break here. Should there be some sort of goal or guideline in the end of this? And let me be specific here for a second. When I think of the paranormal, I think of it in a couple different ways. I like what you guys are doing with Chronicles. That's why I've brought you on here, because you're trying to tell a story through the spirits who lived during that portion of life. I think that's important history telling for any country, and I think more people should do it. But in my personal, yes, it's my personal opinion, okay, but I think in the end, we have the $1 trillion question, which is there life after death? Because everybody on this planet, everybody listening to this show, you know, is going to die. We can all agree on that. And if we're so paranoid about this topic, should we not, Derek, and we got about 30 seconds because I'm long-winded, okay, should we not be trying to get together and find out that ultimate answer as, is there life after death?
If there's life after death, have a seance. If you want to go to the laundry room, that's where ghosts get their sheets. But no, really. No, I like to have fun with spirits. Basically, a lot of times when people are looking at if there's life after death, that's why we have seances. That's why we're trying to do not just as much as paranormal investigating, but have the seance. If you actually want to have a seance and make contact with people that are passed away, if you know how to do it, there's a procedure to that. It's not so easy to put one together in that one either.
Derek, hold that thought. We're going to step out on a commercial break. We're going to continue this hot button topic right after this on Spaced Out Radio.
Greetings and salutations, space travelers, from the Chronicles of the Unknown team.
What is Chronicles of the Unknown? I keep hearing about this thing.
It's a new paranormal reality TV show based right here in beautiful British Columbia, Canada. Follow our team as we uncover claims of activity on the Caribou Gold Rush Trail. You can also follow us here every third Monday, where 2 members of our team will be available to answer your questions. We'll give you some equipment updates and some of our experiences on the road, right here on Spaced Out Radio.
Hi there. I'm Butch Witkowski, lead investigator with the U4 Cop. On the final Monday of every month, you can listen to me and host Dave Scott on Spaced Out Radio's Strange Days. We're going to get to the heart of the matter when it comes to what's happening out there. People are seeing and experiencing things from ET contact to Bigfoot, and I want to hear about it. Your experiences are what we investigators need to help solve these unknown mysteries. So tune in at spacedoutradio.com to the final Monday of every month from Butch Witkowski's Strange Days.
Visit purpleplates.com today. For over 40 years, the Purple Energy Plates have been delivering amazing results for their many customers. Inspired by the great genius Nikola Tesla, the harmony, healing, and energetic effects of the plates have proven over and over to be beneficial and often miraculous to thousands of customers. With their money-back guarantee and the many benefits, how can you afford not to get one? Check their site for daily specials and choose from their many energy products. You won't be sorry. Visit them today at purpleplates.com for mind, body, and spirit, and expect a miracle.
This is your medium, Joanna, from Spaced Out Weekend, 2 mediums and a large. I would love it if you would come and join us with host James Tyson every other Sunday on Spaced Out Weekend. Together, we will take your calls and your questions live. Our goal is to provide you with a positive outlook on deep questions that you may have. Questions regarding love, relationships, money, or whatever else is on your mind. Come and check us out at spacedoutradio.com.
Have you checked out the SOR Spacewire at spacedoutradio.com yet? Every day we post the latest stories regarding the weird, strange, and completely unbelievable. From cryptid and UFO sightings to the conspiracy world, we tackle it all. Hi there, I'm Eric Marcum, Space Out Radio's news director for the SOR Space Wire. And if you have a story, I want to hear it. Email me at news@spaceoutradio.com.
Patrolling the Pacific Northwest, we are always on the lookout for the strange and unassuming stories that real people are experiencing. Hi, I'm Vincent Zunza from Pacific North Weird. Me and Alexandra Sullivan have teamed to bring to you those odd stories that never seem to make it into the mainstream. Stories so weird that will leave you scratching your head wondering, is this real? It's as real as it gets with Pacific North Weird. You can watch our videos right here at spacedoutradio.com.
Become more intimate and interactive with Spaced Out Radio. Join our Space Travelers Club with your new membership. For $5 a month, we'll provide you with special access to the website, monthly prize draws from books to psychic readings, along with monthly newsletter, private interviews, and more. Sign up today to be part of Spaced Out Radio's experience.
Every month on Spaced Out Radio, we look into the deep and dark reports of cryptids roaming around the world with me, Rob Morphy from Cryptopia.us. I would love it if you would join me and host Dave Scott as we delve into the most arcane stories and reports regarding creatures of the unknown. My job is to hunt down the details and bring the evidence forward to you. These aren't your regular Bigfoot stories I'm talking about either. You can find out more about crypto history at spacedoutradio.com.
Looking for a place to advertise at a very reasonable cost? Look no further than Spaced Out Radio. SpacedOutRadio.com has an advertising tab that you can click to check out our daily, weekly, and monthly packages to play on the radio, or our website including social media. From commercial spots to banners, we have it all. Check out our competitive pricing today.
You hear footsteps in the empty room above you. A rocking chair begins rocking by itself. Don't be afraid of the things that go bump in the night. Reach for Spirit Storybox, the iPhone app the Huffington Post UK called the only ghost hunting app you will ever need. Spirit Storybox. The spirits are telling their stories. Are you listening?
Strange creatures lurking in the night, the sounds of wood knocking in the forest, odd happenings right out of a fictional world. These are the reports I love. Hi there, this is author Ronald Murphy, and I would love it if you join me and Spaced Out Radio host Dave Scott the second Wednesday of every month on our journey into the unknown land of cryptozoology at spacedoutradio.com. From Mothman to Frogman and everything in between. Hey, they don't call me the crypto guru for nothing.
Find yourself constantly looking up in the sky, looking for answers? Have you had extraterrestrial contact? Are you an abductee? Looking for answers to your experiences? Hi there, I'm R. Keith Andrews, Spaced Out Radio's resident ET expert. Join me live the first Friday of every month where I take questions from the Spaced Out Radio chat room and help you understand those from the far-off world. It's 2 hours of knowledge every experiencer should listen to. Hope to see you there.
Did you know that Spaced Out Radio runs 7 days a week? Hi, it's James Tyson from Spaced Out Weekend. Every Saturday and Sunday night, starting at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern, you can join me and my guests for some great chatter about what's going on out in the universe, or even in that dark part of the basement you really don't want to go back into. Well, let's find the answers to your experiences together. So come on up to Uncle Jimbo's cabin on the weekend. For more information, look us up at spacedoutradio.com.
Would you like to connect with us on Spaced Out Radio? Head to spacedoutradio.com to check out the latest shows, guests, and sponsors. And don't forget to sign up for the Space Travelers Club. You'll find all you need at spacedoutradio.com. Welcome back to the final hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. I am your host, Dave Scott. Good to have you along for the ride. Tomorrow night on the show, psychic and author Adam Vainer will join us as we're going to have some fun. You may remember AC from being on Two Mediums and a Large. He's got a new book out. We're going to talk about that and spirituality in general. 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern time. we will kick things off at spacedoutradio.com. Hey, you can listen to us on TuneIn and on iTunes now. You can follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio. Give our Facebook page a like, Spaced Out Radio Show. On Instagram, I can be followed at Dave Scott, SOR. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, Spaced Out Radio Show, and our website is spacedoutradio.com. While there, you can always sign up for the SOR Space Travelers Club. It's $5 a month. And with that, your name gets put into monthly prize draws. You get access to private group interviews and so much more. You can read up on the SOR Spacewire, check out our music band, Bumblefoot, as well as read our latest blogs. Everything at spacedoutradio.com. Tonight, we are talking with Chronicles of the Unknown. Derek White Sky Cloud from Chronicles is joined by Paranormal Healing Project's Amber Avalona. I forgot your last name there for a second. Don't tell anybody. And Eric Marcum from the SOR Spacewire. Everyone, welcome back. Derek, I rudely cut you off right before the break. The big question is, what should be the purpose of these paranormal teams? What should be the goal in dealing with the paranormal? Because personally, we have a very large amount of very talented people in this field. And yet, we're working against each other, and we all want the same thing. We all want to be taken seriously by the mainstream, by the scientists, by the public. And yet we're working against each other instead of working together to solve that ultimate question in life: is there a life after death?
We're not broadcasting.
There we go. I forgot to hit the button. That's my fault.
Uh-oh.
Okay. So from the top.
I don't believe... No, just kidding. We should have seances. That's the reason why Dave turned off the button. No, basically, I don't think. I mean, I think I'm not sure if Dave's ever experienced, but when I was young, many years ago, we actually did have seances, and it was an ongoing thing. Everybody in our family were sitting down together, and you always had someone who actually is experienced having to start these seances, and it would be mostly either a man or a woman that would lead it, and then we turn the lights down low to the point of candlelight. And then we would bring out certain pictures, and it would be actually either a painting of someone or some people. And once in a while, they use a closet, like a cabinet closet, where they would use that as a voice box for people that can use their voice coming out of the box, and they would be that person that's passed away. And there's so many things that have happened that I experienced, like I said, will blow you away, that you don't see in Canada or United States. And yet they talk about paranormal, but they don't talk about seances anymore. And that's one thing that we practiced. We used that. We used to gather about maybe 5-10 people or so, and once a week, like one day a week, or at least they would have a seance, or once every 2 weeks we could sit down and have a seance. People gather together, and you sit and have a cup of tea, a cup of coffee, and you sit and you do this for a couple hours. And then you share that life experience of the existence of spirit on the other side. That's where we started from the beginning. And then the paranormal investigating team started happening with people like, say, Ed and Al Warren. They came out with their recorders, just cassettes. It was a recorder and themselves. They didn't have no machinery. They walked in, they took the experience with them, and they went all across from the UK to the United States and to Canada, and they traveled everywhere. And then everyone else caught on board after that, and they all decided to start their own little paranormal group, and then it became a team. So this is nothing new. It's just that it's still continuous. It still keeps on going. People don't realize that it still happens even today. We need to get back to the basics again, right? I mean, we need to get back to the realism of not just having to use digital equipment, but get back to reality that if you really want to make contact with people that are even in existence, or if you want to find out the place is actually haunted, don't walk in with a bunch of equipment. Experience it yourself first. But make sure you have a leader, that's someone actually who is experienced, but they give you that warning ahead of time, that you learn to respect the spirit world. You don't walk in as a skeptic and say, I don't believe anyways, I'm not going to bother, but I'll just... And if you don't want to if you don't do any prayer of protection by any means when you go in, like Amber mentioned earlier, you're going to get hurt. And you're going to get hurt real bad. It may not happen during the investigation, but when you go home, it does affect you because you act up. You act like a different person. Your personality changes. I know. It happened to us. Right? Not me, because I've already been doing it for a lot of years, but the first time I started in this many, many, many years ago, my wife couldn't figure out how come I was acting up like a jerk. And I found out later it wasn't me. There was something in me that was messing with my head, telling me certain things about myself, that I need to kill myself, and that's not me. So we put together some medicines and did my cleansing, got rid of it. So you have to protect yourself, because there are certain things out there that can do harm to you. I know, been part of it. And my team was affected by it, because we think it's so simple to walk right in and just do what you want to do, investigate, and go home. You have to follow through the regulation from the beginning and then after you're done.
Amber, do you believe then that there should be an ultimate goal to this, i.e., the idea that we should be looking at trying to solve life's ultimate question, is there life after death? Yes, we have the evidence to show that, but the unfortunate part about it is the mainstream media, the mainstream scientists, the mainstream religions have not come to the fact that there is these experiences of the paranormal type happening.
I think so. I think that... and I'm going to address this on two different levels. You know, if we do want to have investigators who treat it as a hobby, I, in some ways, wouldn't find anything wrong with that, as long as they know how to protect themselves, how to protect others, that type of thing. I think that they do need to do their research, even if they are a hobbyist. But as far as those of us who want to take it to the next level, who do want to be professional, who do want to kind of share these findings with the world and broaden the definition of the paranormal and life after death, that type of thing, yes. And I think for some people it's not even a matter of is there life after death, but what type of life is there after death? And that's a question that a lot of people have too, as well as is there life in other dimensions? Is there life on other planets? These are a lot of really amazing thoughts and ideas that we can address if we really get down to business. And if we start treating it with the respect that I think that it deserves, just like any other research project that we would approach in any other field of science. You know, psychology was not accepted by many people and by mainstream populace in the early 1900s. And it was considered a pseudoscience. And so I think that the paranormal is kind of in that same, well, now psychology treats the paranormal aspect as a quote, pseudoscience or pseudo investigation, whatever they would want to call it. But we really do need to start answering some of these questions and putting our talents to good use, because we have so many amazing people out there, just like the guys that are on the show tonight, that have talents, that know what they're talking about. And I want this information and I want this documentation to be there for our children, for our children's children, and for generations after that.
Where does paranormal tourism then play in this?
You're asking me, right?
Yes.
Paranormal tourism, it does serve a purpose. I think it gets a lot of people interested in paranormal who would not otherwise have an opportunity to, quote, go on a tour or an investigation. They do ghost tours down in Old Town in Albuquerque, where I come from. I actually went to Old Town one time, and I had a soldier, he was a ghost, follow me home, and then, I did help him through the process of that night, go ahead and move on. So it can help to open people up, but again, it does need to be approached with a lot more care and concern than we currently give to it.
And you see, that's my beef with the whole thing, is that lack of concern, is the fact that you get people going into these abandoned hospitals or these abandoned psychiatric wards, abandoned prisons, where people were at their absolute worst at that time. And you see them going in there as paranormal tourists, trying to prove a haunted place is haunted. Go figure. And that is my issue with this. We're forgetting that they are people. We're forgetting that these spirits are people. And how they deflect that is saying, well, we don't know. We really don't know. We don't know what it is. Then what are you doing in the field? That is my question that I have. What are you doing in the field? Because right now, all you're doing is playing Pokemon Go in a haunted place. You're not proving anything. And that's my beef with the paranormal, Eric. And tell me I'm wrong. I would love for you to tell me that I'm wrong.
I can't. I've got the same beef. And you know that because of our private conversations. The whole Pokemon Go thing. I mean, you keep coming back to that, but it's so much of what it's degenerated into. We've got a haunted site here called Kerner's Folly. It's one of the founding families of Kernersville here in North Carolina built it, and it's haunted tourism. Everybody wants to go to Kerner's Folly with their ghost group because, we'll get some notoriety because we were there. And it's not about finding out why are they there. That's my question. It's the afterlife is supposed to be so great. What the heck are these people hanging out for? I mean, personally, I've got other things I want to do, and I'm hoping after this span, I get to do some of them that I can't do with this body. I'm hoping that I would hope that eventually paranormal investigation will get around to proving there's an afterlife, proving what is the afterlife, asking the questions other than, is it haunted? Oh, gee, it's haunted. Why is it haunted? How is it haunted? What is the mechanism behind haunting? More, more meat and less gravy. I've had my own seance experience where a robot my grandmother gave me for Christmas turned on when I asked her for a sign. Three of us didn't know what we were doing. You should have seen three teenage boys trying to get through one bedroom door at the same time. It was just like out of the movies. But I think that going back to the basics and actually exploring what's going on at that stage is where we need to go.
Derek, as someone who's been doing this for 4 or 5 decades, okay, and I'm not trying to bug you about your age here when I say that. I'm creating the whole experience thing here. Yes, you do have nice hair. I will say that. But considering the fact that we have a lot of people out there who are doing good work, who are doing things positive in this field, do you feel, as someone who's been doing this a long time, that credibility is being hurt by a lot of these, I don't want to call them aftermarket type groups, but that's almost like what they are? Do you feel your credibility has been tainted? Let me rephrase that. Do you feel your credibility has been tainted, or do you feel that people take you more seriously now than when you first started?
My credibility has been tainted. Actually, the more people talk nasty stuff about me, the more that I'm well known. It doesn't bother me how anyone. I mean, it used to bother me before, thinking, like here I'm trying so hard to help people out or try to prove something from spirit, because it's not a job that I chose. It chose me, and it chose me since I was 8 years old. But I thought it was normal. I thought all the kids had this same connection to the spirit world. But I think what it was that I was trying to prove myself so much to people, to say, well, okay, this is what I can do, and yet you're going to find people out there that are going to try to discredit you, or to try to make you feel like you're lesser than you should be. And then if you let that hurt you or bother you, then you let yourself feel weak. And yet I've been told by many people out there that they always said to me that the more they talk about you, whether it's good or bad, that means you're going to continue on being well known. Because there are people out there that actually respect you for who you are, and you've already been given messages or emails or phone calls, and people say to you, "I can't believe it. I don't know how you knew this, or how you whatever you said, how you knew this, or this event happened," and that makes me feel good. But then they'll say, "How did you know this?" It's because you're believing what you're guided to say. And you don't remember anything after, because what comes out of my mouth, I could give you a message, Dave, and say a month later, and you said, "Oh yeah, I remember you telling me this, this, and this." I don't remember anything after, because I'm not supposed to hang on to it. It's not my responsibility. And that's exactly with you, yourself, and like everybody else. When you tell a story in your radio program, and you interview people, and yes, you remember some of those interviews, but there's certain interviews people say, "You remember you said this?" And you're going like, what did I say? So then you have to refer back to what you said. It's recorded. But then if you say, well, if I did say that, then okay, fine. If I didn't say that, well, then okay. Then I'll have to talk about it. We'll bring it up. But it's important that we all understand that there are some good mediums out there, and there's some not so good ones out there. And same with people that are even paranormal investigating teams. There are some good ones out there, and there's not so good ones out there. And my grandmother would say, "Bless their heart," but she would never say that they're no good. She would just say they just need help, or if you're in it for glamour, so to speak, to make yourself look more important than somebody that you know on TV, if you want to be just like them, there are people like that, could be like that out there, no matter what you do. Like I look forward to doing this TV series of ours when it comes out. I look forward to doing it because I enjoy the travel of a historical show that's never been done before, but we are doing the history, following the Gold Rush Trail, and that's the important part. It's never been done before, and there are some places that may been legendary that are haunted, and some that are not. But we still go anyways because we want to tell the story, and people still are interested in history. And that's what I like to do, and that's what my team likes to do. And we all work together. I'm in the background. I'm the guy that stands there and Glenn calls me up and said, Derek, let's do her. Okay, let's go, guys.
I still think there has to be some sort of continuity with it. Let's get to some questions here, because I am way behind on the questions. And thank you to everyone who's been eagerly waiting for me to finally answer something or ask something. Claudia is asking, do any of you guests believe that we are surrounded by billions of souls only divided by a thin veil, and what our body energy carries, they feel it and come to you? Let's start with you, Eric.
That's a good supposition.
That's a good word.
Yeah. No, supposition. Yeah, that's an interesting idea. I guess I've always kind of felt like there were people in the room watching ever since I was a little kid. Maybe it was just my experiences. Growing up Catholic, we were told that you could pray to pray to the saints for intercession. They're watching you. So, yeah, I guess that was just a natural extension. And I don't know if maybe it's I almost wonder if our remembering people doesn't hold them back. I was thinking when Derek was talking about the people that burn everything that belonged to that person.
Mm-hmm.
Is that a way of just cutting ties so that spirit can say, well, they don't need me anymore, I can go on? Because that's not a lot of Western civilization and a lot of, say, Caucasian, we have heirlooms. I've got stuff in this house that belonged to people 3 generations back. Is that what's holding them? Are they being held here by that? Or is it just this is a reality show that there's nothing much to do in the afterlife, so we sit around on our clouds watching what the crazy living humans are doing?
I have no idea. What do you think, Derek?
Well, I like the idea when he talked about him having items that are very old, 3-4 generations, and that's true. Sometimes people like to hang around because they remember the time where those items were theirs, and they remember the fondness of the location. If a person hasn't moved out of that house, say maybe his grandfather lived in that very same house, and then his mom and dad were born there, not mom and dad, but either mom or dad born there. It reflects that time period as a kid growing up, right? And then when the kids are born there, it helps them understand that there's still a connection to the home, and there's love in the home. But once the person moves, and you take that furniture with you, they can be attached to specific things that they love the most, because there's always a mother or a grandmother that has loved a certain piece of furniture that she loved and she cherished, and she took care of that thing right to the very end, to the end of her days. But yet when she passes it on to the next generation, that person should be responsible, or will take responsibility to take care of it. And is that person that passed away still attached to it? They can be if they want to be there, but they're not stuck. They're already crossed over. They're already in that spirit light, but they want to see how they're doing to take care of either that particular item, but not really. There's hardly anything really that people are possessive of. I mean, there are people out there that when they pass away, they don't like to give up all of their possessions. I've heard people say, when I die, I'll take my possessions with me, if they believe that. But yet, and there are things that are known that possessions are haunted. And the reason why they're haunted is because it may relate to something that it always reflects in something that could be violent, but not always peaceful. And if it relates to a violent issue or something that was traumatic, but there's a reason why that particular item, and it's always small, never huge all the time. It's always a small item. It could be buried somewhere under the house, or you never know what it is. But those things can hold a spirit around, or the spirit decides to hang around, because they, in time, the ones that pass away may not want you to find those items that were buried, and someone may be buried in the basement because maybe they did something to someone else in the past that could have caused an uproar or an upheaval in a family that one generation does not want you to know. And you'll always hear a certain story that will hold it back. And then again, what are we attached to? Are they still hanging around? Is that going to help us or not? Are we going to be able to move ahead? It's up to us as individuals.
Let's get to another question, and we'll start, Amber, with you on this one. Trip is asking in the Space Out Radio chat room, why not ask if the spirits themselves can help finish their journey? Instead of, or why don't we ask if the spirits themselves need help finishing their journey? Instead of being stuck, some are stuck in a loop and need help instead of being treated like a sideshow entertainment.
Yes, and I have said that before. I completely agree with that statement. As far as being a sideshow entertainment, sometimes I refer to it as, treating them as a freak show, and that's not what these spirits are. Whether they're human, whether they are some other type of entity, there always needs to be an element of love there, and also of respect. And I remember watching a paranormal show a while back, and they had teams competing against each other, and there was I think they were in a psychic hospital, psychic ward for a mental hospital, and one of the gentlemen was just screaming at this supposed spirit who had a mental disorder and was supposedly still in the hospital, and he was just trying to egg him on and say, show yourself. If you don't push, so and so, then I don't believe in you. I don't believe in your existence. And what gives us the right to treat anybody like that, any person, much less any spirit? And so it always bothers me when I see things like that. And I have people who have gotten upset and mad with me because when I go into a location, I will help cross over whomever needs to be crossed over, or do whatever other type of healing work needs to be done, regardless of what the human caretakers or the paranormal teams think. And some of them say, well, we want this entity to be removed from the location, but we want the children to stay. And I will not do that. If in the course of a healing, if the children need to go or want to go, then they will go. I will never hold them back. And I don't think that we have any right. To me, it's a form of slavery. I call it spectral slavery. And so I agree that we need to start thinking about these things differently than we have typically in the past or have in entertainment, because we do let the entertainment industry make a lot of these decisions for us as to how things should be perceived. And that's not always correct, because they're not the experts. They're there to make money and to achieve a certain amount of ratings, and they're in it for themselves. And when we go, we really need to be aware of the fact that there are still hurting souls that are out there, even though we can't see them. And that's my opinion on the matter.
Derek, I have a question from you from Paisley in the Space Out Radio chat room. She is wondering, Derek, were the seances basically channeling or mediumship?
Channeling. Well, channeling is mediumship, but they're both the same. I mean, basically, when you do a seance, you're protecting your circle. and then you're asking the wonderful spirits that you mentioned their names to come forward and that you wish to speak with them. It becomes a common thing to talk to the same person each week. It's not different people all the time. You're making it actually a specific time date that you're talking to someone that has passed away, and they come through each week to relay a message for the people that are there. And once in a while there's a guest that comes and sits in the circle that may never experience it before. But a seance is where it's not entirely channeled, but there is actually a medium that sits in, and the medium will receive the message, and that's called a trance medium. A trance medium is someone who actually welcomes the spirit to take them over. And that's happened to me, where a spirit took me over and I become somebody else, and I have no knowledge of it. It's like being in a small little room, and I'm safe there, and then this person is talking away, and as I'm supposed to be speaking, or that person is speaking through my mouth, all I hear is I don't hear their voice, but I can hear a humming. And then when I do open my eyes, or like I guess you say, I become back to myself, then I ask everybody, what did I say, or what came out of my voice, or what came out of this person. So they have to repeat it to me, what I had said. It helps me understand that even if it is channeled, but you're listening and you're feeling safe because you have a guide that works with you. My guide helps me to make sure I'm protected. I've had this guide with me since I was a little boy. He stays with me, and he's the one that makes sure that I am safe, but also I'm able to give a message. And if he'll also speak through me and speak differently, and he'll speak to others that's connected to me. So it depends on each individual. Everybody's different in seances. They're not just sitting there and wait for something to happen. You have to encourage them, that person or persons who want to come forward, but it doesn't take long. It's I never went to a seance where there was nobody that showed up. There was always one or two people, and it's quite enlightening and entertaining. It's not. I mean, yes, sometimes it can be serious once in a while, but not for long. Because people in the spirit world, they're so loving and they're so giving. They want to let you know to enjoy life to the fullest and make the best of it as much as you possibly can, because they were always saying, if you get too serious, then you're not having fun. And not to forget that you're supposed to be here to have fun, enjoy life, and not be so yes, we can do the research as much as we can, learn about paranormal, but they're always saying, don't forget who you are first. Because if you forget who you are first, then you haven't accomplished anything. You've basically done it for everybody else, but nothing for yourself. And unless this is your personal goal, that you want to make this for people to know that there are things out there that do happen. That's my goal now today, is to let people know that, people talk about the New World Order, or people talk about all these bad things that are happening right now, and all these current events are happening everywhere across the world in the negative sense of it. I get tired of seeing it all the time, because they want you to feel down and depressed and high. Nothing to the positive. So I have to bring up the positive. I have to tell the people out there that there are other things out there, that we are being watched over, we're being protected, and that things are going to be fine. Everything has a specific place for us to be. When Eric's placed here for a reason, he's here to voice his opinion. Amber's here to voice her opinion, which she states. Dave is here to share what he needs to be shared. Every time that Dave does his show, the spirits on the other side love him for what he's doing, and for every column, every new day that he puts on, because he's supposed to be that representative. And even in the future, he'll still be doing radio. In the future, as in the next life, he's still going to be someone who's going to be involved in media consistently, because that is part of him. It'll never leave him.
Wonderful. I'm going to be broke forever. Thanks.
No, forever, but if you make it all the time, you will make yourself broke forever.
I blame Las Vegas. That's all I will say.
Damn that Las Vegas. Well, they actually, you forgot. You realize they dropped the T. There.
Las Vegas.
Yeah.
Yes. Let's get to another question. This one from Len. Len is asking, does anyone of the panel believe that spirits can travel the world, not trapped in any one spot, but can, if they want to, hear something trying to contact them? What do you think, Eric?
I think there's both. I think it depends on the vibrational level of the spirit after it passed. I believe that there are spirits that have actually anchored themselves to a spot, whether it's through some deed, some action in their life that's glued them to an area. Maybe they just can't let go of it. But by the same token, I've experienced communications with spirits that I know weren't local. You know, they had to have been able to travel to where I was. So yeah, I think there's both. I think probably there's more out there zipping around, going wherever they want, than there are the ones that are, you know, anchored in spot. I think being anchored might be a form of punishment. It's like you've got to get past something before you can travel. And they're anchored to the place where the whatever, if it was something they did that was really wrong, that's where they're stuck. Until something, I don't know enough about the healing aspect. Maybe Amber can elaborate on that, but it just seems like there would have to be a combination of the two.
Kind of like Facebook jail for me when I tag too many people.
Yeah. You're anchored in a spot.
I'm anchored in a spot. I can't move. Damn Facebook jail. Hey, I haven't been in it in a week, so I'm pretty happy, knock on wood. Amber, what's your take on that? Do you think spirits have the ability to travel around if they're still on this plane?
I agree with a lot of what was said prior. Well, actually, everything that was said prior. It does depend on the spirit and also the situation, as was previously touched on. Living here in New Mexico and dealing with a lot of Native American spirits, I have found that in those cases, a lot of times there are Native American protectors of certain sacred sites, whether those sites are still recognized as sacred now by the general public, or whether they are sites that kind of faded from our cultural memory throughout history, but those protectors are still there kind of keeping watch on that area. So sometimes they can be there for that reason. Sometimes there are spirits that wander and move. Recently dealt with a case where there was it wasn't a human spirit, but it was an entity, and I guess the best way to describe it would be some type of animal. In my opinion, there is a lot out there that we just don't see that is in another dimension that's very close to ours. So it was this type of animal that was, a predator, just like, any predator that we would have in our world today, like, a wolf, anything like that. But it would take on the energy and also the identity of its prey. And that was something very new to us when we encountered it that I had not in that specific context run into before. But it was also a traveling, I'll just say animal. It was a traveling animal. And so it would just kind of wander, from place to place. And that was the way that it lived in that dimension that overlaps with ours in a sense. And sometimes they are lost. There are maybe humans who just really don't know how to find their way to a place in the afterlife where they feel at peace. And so they keep looking for that. And they do wander. They can latch on from a person to another person, whether you cross that person's path in a store, whether it's through a family member or an investigation. You know, a lot of paranormal investigators seem to switch entities, I should say, in a sense, when they visit the same locations. You know, those entities can attach from one to another and just kind of travel around until hopefully they find what it is that they're looking for in the afterlife that they need. So those are just some of the kind of various scenarios that can happen regarding that. And I hope that I did answer your question. I know that it's an issue we could probably talk about for hours, but we don't have that much time. But thank you for asking that. I really appreciate that.
No problem. No problem. That's kind of what we do around here. We ask questions.
Yeah.
Well, we got about 15 minutes left before we wrap things up, and I think we've got pretty serious on some of these topics tonight. Here's one that I want to ask. Actually, Derek, I'm going to ask you that same question that was asked before, because you've been around spirit your entire life. Do you believe that they have the ability to travel instead of being stationary?
Big time. They do travel. I mean, I've had dreams. For example, I had one of my good friends passed from cancer, liver cancer, but before I talked to him before he passed away, and I told him, I says, you know, if by some chance that when you cross over and when you get a chance, let me know how you're doing after when you pass away. I want to see how you're doing. And he says, okay, I'll do that. And then I didn't see him for a couple of weeks, and he passed away. And then a couple of weeks later, I had him come to see me in a meditation, and I see this car, this red Chevy car. Was it a Chevy? No, it wasn't a Chevy. It was a Cadillac convertible. Yeah, Cadillac convertible. It was like a rag top, and it showed. And this car drove up in front of me in the vision. And here's the very same guy that I knew. In the car, sleeves rolled up, and the top is down, and he drove up to me and he says, "How you doing, Derek? Just let you know I'm enjoying my ride. You know, like I'm having a great time over here. So nice to see you. You have a great life, and I'll talk to you, see you sometime soon." Like he drove off. And so what people do, anytime that they always say if they were unable to go somewhere, or if they miss driving their car, or they've always wanted to go on vacation but didn't get a chance to, in spirit, when they cross over, they can do whatever they want, think whatever they want. That means because I remember people talking to me many times in spirit, and they said, just by the thought, just have a thought, and you can go wherever you want to go without having to worry about paying the ticket or having to get on some other plane. You are that plane. You go there and you get to see anything and everything you want. And you fulfill that part of your life. And the cool part of it is that you also look young and feel young again. So if a person is over 50, 60 years old, in spirit you go back to 30. You're looking young again. You get your hair back. You look really young. You look really good looking. And same with the women. You know, and if it's a child or a young person, if they want to show themselves to you, they will. They'll show you how they want to feel. There was a young girl that I knew. She had cancer, and she lost her hair, and she was 12 years old, at 12 or 13, and she said all of her life she's always wanted to be a brunette, but her mother wouldn't let her dye her hair. When she crossed over and she came to see me, I barely recognized her, and I saw her with black hair, dark hair. And I said, "Oh, you got dark hair?" And she goes, "Yep, I've always had wanted to fulfill my dream, and now I have my black hair." You know, like that's what people do, and when they travel with us, or for example, even when we want to go somewhere, I give people messages, and I'll say, do you know when you went to this place? And no one ever tell me they go to these certain places. I just tell them myself. And I'll say, oh, well, you just got back from England, I think, because they're telling me that they're showing me England with you. Like you're gone no more than a month ago or 2 weeks or a month ago. And she goes, yeah, I just got back. I said, your mom told me to tell you that's passed. And she says to me that she was with you all the time. And it's like, oh my God, I can't believe it. And I said, your mom passed? She goes, yeah. And I said, well, then she tells me she was with you all the time because she's always wanted to go, but she couldn't because she was too sick to go. So everything that we deal with, that we say, is my dream going to come true? Yes. Am I going to travel? Oh, yes. Anywhere you can go wherever you want because it's by thought.
Okay, now Spear has an interesting question in regards to this conversation, Derek. She is asking, what about the negative entities that are harmful? If a normal ghost is young and healthy, what about them? Why are they that way?
Negative entities are the ones that are angry, it depends on how they passed. If, say, one was murdered, and never had the murder solved or resolved. They're trying to find someone to help them resolve their murder. Like, help me find this person that actually killed me or solve my case. And many times I get a lot of people come to see me to solve someone who's gone missing. Even with the police have come to see me some of the cases to help solve some of the cases. And also, I'll even get a certain spirit coming to see me after they passed away, and they're saying that their case was never solved, and then I have to go find them or help them out, let them know what's going on. As we discussed earlier tonight with you guys, if they're meant to be found, and once you resolve the case for them, then they're at peace. But there are other ones out there that don't want to be found. Like sometimes they'll run away. I've met a few spirits that ran away from their family and didn't want to be found because of the results or something, that circumstance they went through. And they didn't want their parents to find them, or some, not just parents, but more like somebody who was bad that was chasing them. And I've actually had situations where a certain man passed away after that person that he may have harmed her, and next thing you know, that bad guy is still chasing her even after they're passed away, or she's passed away. So it takes people like you and I to help her cross over into the light so he can't harm her anymore. So there's different situations that each individual goes through something, and to resolve their case or resolve their journey, that they need help. And then there's others out there that don't want help, or even ones that are just wandering spirits. Where when I worked up in northern Alberta on the reservation and with my family, and I was driving down the highway. It takes about a half an hour to go from one place where I was at into the next town. And as you're going into town, once in a while you see the odd hitchhiker. Well, there was this young man, about 18, 19 years old, and I thought, you know what, it's a long, hot day, and I'll just go pick him up, So I pulled over, and he got in my truck, and I'm driving down the road, probably about 3 or 4 minutes, and he asked me if I have a cigarette. And I don't smoke, but I always brought an extra pack of smokes with me in my side pocket, because a lot of people like to always ask for a smoke in respect of. So tobacco is very sacred to us, and giving someone tobacco, whether it's if they want to use it as an addiction, is by decision. But I gave him a cigarette, and he appreciated it. Never smoked it, but he kept it in his hand. He put it in on his ear, and on top of the crook of his ear, and then I dropped him off into town, and I did my business. The next day I went back to the same place, and I was going down the same highway, heading up to the same town. I did it 3 days straight. But the second day, and I see the very same young fellow in a very similar area walking the side of the road, and I pulled over, and I gave him a ride again, and again he asked for a cigarette. And wore the same clothes. He didn't change. He looked at the same person. And so then when I got him to town, then I dropped him off, and then I did my thing and came back out. And then the next day, I was coming again, leaving that location and pulling over. And I picked him up again. And this time I thought, you know what? He's going to ask me for a cigarette, so I gave him a whole pack of smokes. I said, "Man, this is for you. Enjoy your day. Enjoy your cigarettes." He said, I think you need this, and your journey will do well for you, and you have a great life." And then I let him go. So I told some friends of mine that afternoon that I picked up this young man on the side of the road, and they said, "What did he look like?" And I described them to him. He said, "Oh, that's young Jeremy." He said, "He's been dead since 1969. And he travels the highway all the time, and he waits for someone to pick him up." And they said he always asks for a cigarette, but when you gave him the tobacco, you helped him cross over into the light, because that's what he was waiting for, someone to offer him the tobacco, as saying, "Here I am. Here's my offering. Can I cross over?" So these things do happen.
We got a couple questions here that I want to get in before we have to start shutting things down. Thunderbird in the Revolution Radio chat room is asking, where are all those spirits that perished on the Titanic, and how do you think they feel about what was done to them? They ought to be pretty pissed off. Derek, I'll ask you that.
They're all back. They're actually, all the people that perished are all back here living this life now.
How do you know that?
Because a lot of people that I actually have met, two ladies that have actually had a past life regression with me, and both Titanic. And they named the names, and they've never known anything about the Titanic. So then we did the research after and found out later there were those very two names exactly existed on the boat, but they always were afraid of water. They were afraid to be in a swimming pool, even afraid of drowning, and so that was one of their phobias. And so when I guided them through and helped them through that phobia, they were fine after.
You know what? I will agree with you on that, because I have a very good friend of mine. Her daughter, who went to kindergarten in grade 1 with my daughter, was on the Titanic since she was 3 years old. And she was born in 1999. Since she was 3 years old, she's been quoting names and stories and telling her mom and dad stories about what happened on the Titanic, what it was like. And at 3 years old, I'm sorry, you don't know what the Titanic is.
No.
Okay? And they're not TV people. You know, they're not people who watch a lot of TV. So, you know, at 3 years old, she's not going to see a book on the Titanic and be able to read what that is. You know, and some of her recollection has been absolutely incredible. So I think you may have some merit on that one.
Yeah.
I really do. You know, that's good. That's good. All right. We got about 5 minutes left in the program. Amber, you've been awfully silent. Are you still awake?
I am. I was listening to that story, and I thought it was amazing. For some reason, I'm really attracted to the history of the Titanic, so I was very impressed with that story, and I actually agree with you both. I think that many of them are back and are living, hopefully, the lives that were cut short from that tragedy, you know, during that time.
Sometimes I wonder if Leonardo DiCaprio actually really was on that ship.
Wouldn't that be a hoot?
Yeah, right?
I mean, I'm talking about the real one.
Right. He could have been.
Yeah.
He definitely could have been. And James Cameron, too, you never know. Because that was an amazing...
They quickly, just quickly say this to you. I just... did some research regarding the Titanic since the two ladies I worked with, and I just found out a couple of days ago that there was a woman who actually had her son, her little guy was about 5 years old, was drawing these pictures of this big huge ship, and he was doing it such details, and so he told his mom that it was the SS Titanic, or the Titanic he called it. Found out later when they did a past life regression with him that he actually was the original person that actually architect that ship.
Really? Wow.
Yeah. And as an adult now,
that would be a bit right, you know?
He doesn't have memory of it now.
Wow. That's too bad.
Yeah.
That's really too bad. We got to investigate that a little bit more. There's a show topic for us one night. Reincarnation. Yeah. We got to find somebody on that, Eric.
Yes, I've got some I've actually got some inquiries out on that.
You know who I got a hold of today who wants to do an interview on this show? No. Lee R. Harvey Oswald's ex-girlfriend.
Awesome.
Yes. I'm going to be booking a date with her. No, with Judith Baker very soon for this show. Judith Very Baker agreeing to be on this show. How cool will that be to have Lee Harvey Oswald's ex on Spaced Out Radio? I'm
Totally
pretty
cool.
stoked about that. Hey, guys, you hold on. I got to wrap this thing up. We got Bumblefoot playing in the background on the Spaced Out Radio side. If you're on Revolution Radio, you can't hear it. That's too bad because it's some rockin' tunes. We rock out to Little Brother is Watching every night when we head home. Bumblefoot is the official music of this show. Remember, if you want to catch this podcast, you can listen to it on our YouTube channel, Spaced Out Radio Show, on TuneIn, or download it on iTunes. We're everywhere now. We're trying to make it big. We're trying to make it large. And you are all helping. Thank you so much for being with us. Tomorrow night on the show, AC Vanner, Spirit Talk. He's not too bad. It'll be a fun show. So I hope you all kick back and relax and enjoy it as well. Remember, you can follow us on social media, on Twitter, at Spaced Out Radio. Give our Facebook page a like, Spaced Out Radio Show. You can follow us on Instagram, Dave Scott SOR. Remember, Spaced Out Radio Show on YouTube. Subscribe to that to hear our archives. And our website is spacedoutradio.com. Would love it if you took a tour around there. Tell us what you think. You can always get a hold of me if you need. I am audience interactive. Not many people who do this thing are. I am. Why? Because without me having my faith in you, the listener, I wouldn't be here. You guys make it all worthwhile. Thank you very much for being with us. We'll talk to you very soon. Exactly. Well, let's look at the old watch right now. 21 hours from now, I'll be back. Will you? I hope so. Thank you so much. We will get to you tomorrow night. Take care.